This is not me. This should belong to you. What nonsense are you talking about? Are you questioning even Master's decision? But what but? Yang Tianqi glared at Lu Wan with a serious expression and said, I will assist you with all my heart in the future. You will definitely become a very wise state preceptor, and you will be able to lead the entire catacombs human tribe to become stronger. Lu Wan looked at his brother blankly. The two of them had been fighting since they were young. Although they had a tacit understanding of cooperation, Lu Wan always felt a little uneasy. Yang Tianqi was a person with high talent, and he was also very hardworking in cultivation. No matter what he did, he was always at the forefront. That was why his cultivation and array formation attainments could improve so quickly. Lu Wan had always felt that he was slightly inferior. He was worried that Yang Tianqi would be unhappy with his master's decision. However, Yang Tianqi's words made him feel uncomfortable. It was as if he had always been measuring a gentleman's belly with a villain's heart. Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and thank Master. From now on, you are the trusted state preceptor. Xiaoman interrupted Yang Tianqi and smiled at Lu Wan. Not yet. Only after passing the Elder Council's qualification certification can one be the true state preceptor. Before that, one can only be considered an agent. Xiaoman then turned to Lu Tianqi and said, Great Elder, I'll leave this child to you in the future. You have to watch him carefully and let him concentrate on his cultivation. If he can become a truly qualified country, if he doesn't do a good job as a teacher, I'll have to hold you responsible. Lu Tianqi bowed respectfully. State preceptor, don't worry. Although I'm old, I'll definitely do my best and use the last of my life to assist little state preceptor. Lu Tianqi's words came from the bottom of his heart. Just now, he was shocked when he sensed that the three young people in front of him were all higher than him. He had been forced to endure in the catacombs for hundreds of years. There was no longer a day for him to stand out. He was only at level 8 of the spiritualization boundary. It was probably impossible for him to advance any further. However, these three young people didn't seem to be so powerful when they saw them yesterday. However, today, they suddenly became 2 peak spiritualization realm cultivators and a first grade array formation realm cultivator. He didn't know what they had encountered, or if he had sensed wrongly yesterday. Of course, Lu Tianqi did not know how powerful the white jade pill that Li Yuanqing had fed the three of them yesterday was. That was the pill formula that Li Yuanqing had obtained from the immortal world. Then I'll thank Great Elder in advance. What are you saying, Imperial Preceptor? This is our responsibility as humans. Lu Wan slowly reached out his hand and gently touched the magic crystal square platform. The magic crystal platform suddenly dissipated, and a black thread appeared, drawing a line on Lu Wan's fingertip. Lu Wan's tough skin was also cut open by this attack, revealing a trace of blood. The magic crystal platform absorbed all the mist formed by the blood stains. In the end, it expanded and shrank again and again. After a while, the magic crystal platform finally quieted down. It floated in front of Lu Wan and slowly rotated. Lu Wan carefully reached out his hand. This time, he didn't cut his hand when he touched the magic crystal platform. He suddenly threw his hand, and the entire demonic crystal square platform instantly rose into the air, reaching a height of 1,000 feet. Its body also expanded with the wind, instantly turning into a huge platform that was 10,000 feet tall and was placed above Lu Wan's head. Everyone in Ping City below watched this scene with wide eyes. They were originally sunny and bright, but now, the entire sky had suddenly turned dark. Under the cover of the huge stone platform, all the light was completely blocked. Thousands of mournful howls came from the magic crystal square platform, spiraling continuously at the bottom, turning into countless hurricanes that whistled and hit people's bodies, causing their clothes to flutter. The array masters below looked at this scene in extreme shock. They had just thought that these young fellows had walked to such a high position. How could they hold back? But now, it seemed that they were overthinking it. This young man possessed such great strength at such a young age. It was simply unimaginable what kind of achievements he would have in the future. Coupled with the support of this powerful magical crystal square platform, there were probably not many people on the entire continent who could touch him. The scene was silent. The whistling sound in the sky slowly subsided. Li Yuan was not used to releasing some of the aura of the demons. Although this Weisher app was accidentally released, it also had a very good deterrent effect, scaring everyone below. Li Yuan hurriedly collected all these things. The magic crystal platform shrunk rapidly and finally fell into Li Yuan's palm. It disappeared into his palm. Xiaoman looked at this scene with satisfaction. Li Yuan's comprehension was quite high. Master had chosen these few disciples. He really had a discerning eye. Li Yuan looked at his palm with excitement. He looked in the direction of his master with excitement, but he didn't know when he had left. The platform was empty, and there was no one there. Lil Man looked at the crowd below and finally announced, "From today onwards, one will enter seclusion to cultivate and strive for a higher realm. If I am fated to meet you again, you must deepen your attainments in array formations step by step to strengthen the human race. Farewell, Imperial Preceptor. Farewell, Imperial Preceptor." The array masters below shouted again and again as they knelt on the ground and cried bitterly. This powerful state preceptor wanted to leave them just like that to pursue a higher realm. How dangerous was that, especially after reaching Xiaoman's realm? In the array realm, every step out was extremely dangerous. They did not know that there was an existence at the peak of the array realm behind Xiaoman. They were just thinking about how to bring them to the immortal world. Immortal world, Wu Yuan sect. In the mountains that were filled with an ethereal aura, on both sides of a chessboard on the top of an inconspicuous low mountain, a young man was playing chess with this young man. The two of them each held a crystal-clear white feather cup in their hands. There was some yellow liquid inside, emitting dense spiritual power. "Brother Zhao, so you've already arranged everything?" The person sitting across from the man was Li Yuanqing. To be exact, it was his wood spirit clone. Li Yuanqing had the wood spirit avatar and was constantly looking for opportunities in the immortal world. Although he could successfully come to the immortal world, he needed to be legitimate. Otherwise, he would be rejected by the human race in the immortal world and would be in trouble. Li Yuanqing had found a way to the Wu Yuan sect. Speaking of which, this martial essence sect was actually a sect affiliated to the Black Dragon. The immortal world was a place dominated by the human race. Under the hundreds of large and small sects of the human race, there were thousands of demon races. Black Dragon was originally under the name of the Wu Yuan sect, so the few immortal ascension gates he set up were also near the Wu Yuan sect. This was also why Li Yuanqing could interact with the people in this sect. If one wanted to ascend to the immortal world, one way was to pass the lightning tribulation. As long as I can build a city, my body will be able to be forged after I use the most powerful thunder fire in the lower realm. The spiritual energy in my body will also be able to be reorganized. That body will be rejected by the lower realm and accepted by the immortal world. In this way, he could successfully advance to the immortal world. Another method is to be able to find a status in the sect of the immortal world. The man in front of Li Yuanqing was called Zhao Baoyun. He was the person in charge of the herb garden. The sect was recruiting some people to manage the herb garden recently. He did not expect such a guy to be interested in this and very enthusiastic. Zhao Baoyun agreed to this matter. "Brother, how can I go wrong with what I promised you? Just put your heart in your stomach and bring your two sisters here. Then I'll thank Brother Zhao in advance." "There's nothing to thank me. If there's anything you need, you can look for me." There were hundreds of different sects in the immortal world, and the Wu Yuan sect was considered one of the medium-sized ones. Currently, the sect with the most resounding reputation in the entire immortal world was called Xianling sect. There were countless mighty figures inside. It was said that as long as one stepped into the immortal spirit sect, they would no longer have to worry about the immortal world. Its territory was vast, covering dozens of immortal mountains. There were countless vassal sects and demon races around it. It was said that Xianling sect was a place that everyone in the immortal world yearned for, especially those idle cultivators. If they had the opportunity to enter Xianling sect, it would greatly open up their future cultivation path. The immortal world was not like the lower realm, where there were no rules at all. Most of the places here were prohibited from having disputes with each other. Moreover, the entire immortal world was under the control of a powerful array formation. Each area had its own sect in charge. In a specific area, If anyone dared to cause trouble, the law enforcement team would arrive in a very short time. Ordinary people did not dare to cause trouble casually. If they were targeted by the law enforcement officers, it would be difficult to get rid of them. Li Yuanqing received the token from Zhao Baoyun to enter and exit the martial essence sect. Although their tokens were the lowest level servant tokens, without this token, they could not even enter the sect protection array outside. There were also 2 divine immortal pills. The greatest use of this medicinal pill was to help people in the lower realm transform their flesh, blood, and meridians. Generally speaking, those who could ascend from the lower realm to the immortal world would undergo the baptism of the lightning tribulation. His body had long been forged and could fit into the environment of the immortal world. This celestial pill was a shortcut to tempering one's body. In Li Yuanqing's domain space, 2 huge cocoons floated in the air. They faintly emitted a red light and jumped between breaths. There was an incense burner beside Li Yuanqing. There was a thin incense stick stuck in the middle of the incense burner. The incense stick was almost burning to the root. According to Zhao Baoyun, this divine immortal pill was basically a success in an instant. There were very few failures. But now, the incense stick was almost burned out, and the 2 of them did not see any signs of breaking out of the cocoon and transforming. Could there be an accident? Li Yuanqing turned around and appeared in a simple wooden house. The interior of the wooden house was very simple. It was just some simple wood stacked together, but its structure was very exquisite and looked very sturdy. The room was filled with a very strong smell of wood, mixed with a faint smell of rotten plants. Walking out of the house, he could see all kinds of flowers and spiritual herbs growing outside the small wooden house. These flowers were rooted on the wooden house and grew very vigorously. Looking out, he saw a very vast herbal field surrounding the small house, surrounding the entire house in the middle, and medicine field's periphery is 3 faces towering hillside. This large herbal field surrounded by 3 hills was one of the herbal gardens of the Essence Martial Sect. The herbal field extended up the hill and only stopped halfway up the hill. Each herb field was a 100 feet square cube. There were more than 1,000 cubes evenly placed in every corner of the valley. All of this was now taken care of by Li Yuanqing and the other 2. This was a lucrative job. Li Yuanqing had spent a lot of demon cores for this job. However, those Yao cores were collected by the Black Dragon anyway, so there was no heartache in spending them. After Li Yuanqing passed through the Immortal Ascension Gate from the lower realm, he immediately rushed to the sect's medicinal garden. He was anxious to complete the transformation of Hu Juzhou and the other 2. Just now, he had only given Zhong Bao a small seasickness and made a simple notification. Zhao Baoyun seemed to have something to do just now and had yet to rush over. There were restrictions all around the herbal field. Without a special token, there was no way to approach it. Li Yuanqing stood at the periphery of the herbal field and looked at the lush medicinal herbs growing inside. Above each herbal field, there was a transparent shed condensed from an array formation. The shed was as tall as 2 people, and it was full of green plants. It was so crowded that the shed was almost propped up. The spiritual energy in the immortal world was thousands of times denser than in the lower realm, and the spiritual energy in these medicinal fields was tens of times denser. Inside, one could see that the spiritual energy that was so dense that it had turned into a solid substance had turned into turbid white liquid droplets. They dripped down from the leaves of the plant and fell into the soil. They slowly seeped into the soil and were then crazily absorbed by the roots of the plant. Li Yuanqing looked at these plants. He could even see with his naked eye that these things were constantly changing. They seemed to grow bigger every moment, especially the strange-looking fruit in front of him. This fruit was bright red. It was narrow at the top and wide at the bottom like a gourd, but there was no particularly thin circle around the waist. It should be said to be in the shape of a Japanese melon. The red pumpkin was crystal clear and glistening with a red glow. It looked very tender and made people want to take a bite just by looking at it from the outside. This is the fire spirit fruit. It contains the most abundant fire attribute spiritual power. Whether it's used to cultivate fire attribute secret manuals or to refine fire attribute magic tools, it's a very useful basic material. The yield is also very high. It's one of the few medicinal herbs that this place produces the most every year. Li Yuanqing was watching when a voice suddenly came from the side. Zhao Baoyun had rushed over. Zhao Baoyun held a jade token in his hand and threw it casually. The jade token flew straight towards Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing stretched out his hand to catch it, but the jade token easily passed through his palm. The row of jade tokens continued to move forward, as if they were going to pass through Li Yuanqing's chest and fall into his body. A layer of black light flashed on Li Yuanqing's body, blocking the jade token outside. Zhao Baoyu was a little surprised and glanced at Li Yuanqing, reminding him, "If you keep this key in your body, you will be able to enter and exit this herbal field freely from now on. Open your defenses a little and let it in."
Li Yuanqing nudda ligli.
His body flashed and the black barrier disappeared. The jade token easily entered Li Yuanqing's body. Li Yuanqing only felt a very rich medicinal fragrance suddenly enter his nose and mouth. The moment the jade token entered his body, the restrictions on it were completely opened. The rich fragrance contained in it directly wrapped it up. Congratulations on signing in for the herb field of the Wu Yuan sect. You have received a reward. Reward 1. Twin hose. Reward 2: 100 bottles of divine source water. Reward 2 selected. Congratulations on obtaining Lu bottles of divine source water. The reward has been issued. When Li Yuanqing regained his senses, Zhao Baoyun was looking at him in confusion. Brotherly, what's wrong? Zhao Baoyun sized up Li Yuanqing. The brother who introduced him last time. Why did one of the three come now? Moreover, this guy looked strange and didn't seem normal.
Infine.
Sorry for worrying, Brother Zhao. Zhao Baoyun nodded reluctantly. He looked at Li Yuanqing again with some worry. Heard from your brother that there were 3 of you. Why are you alone now? The 2 of them have just taken the divine immortal pill, and their current condition is still unstable. One was just about to ask you, did you light the incense one gave you? The incense stick is almost finished, but one don't see any signs of them waking up. Zhao Baoyun looked at the herbal field and thought for a while. He said hesitantly, it's nothing much. It's only a matter of time after I consume this divine immortal pill. It's normal for it to take a little longer. I see. You don't have to worry. Zhao Baoying looked a little guilty. She took out a green bottle and handed it to Li Yuanqing. If the 2 of them are unstable later, divide this bottle into 2 portions and pour it on them. It can save their lives. Li Yuanqing's eyebrows twitched slightly when he heard this. Why did this guy sound so uncertain when he talked about it? Don't worry, brother. Nothing will happen. Your 2 sisters will definitely be fine. Zhao Baoyun smiled awkwardly and looked around. He suddenly took out a jade pendant from his pocket and handed it to Li Yuanqing. These are the medicinal herbs planted in all the medicinal fields, as well as their maturity time, harvesting standards, and monthly production. They all have very fixed standards. You only need to pick according to the specifications marked on them. Understood. Zhao Baoyun smiled and patted Li Yuanqing's shoulder. Brother, be happy. You've been in the lower realm for so long and finally came back. Being able to stay in the immortal world was much stronger than being in the lower realm. Brother Zhao is right. How can the lower realm compare to the dense spiritual energy of the immortal realm? I see that your cultivation is about to reach the supreme realm. Is the spiritual energy of your lower realm so dense? This is very rare. Zhao Baoyun sized up Li Yuanqing and muttered with some doubt. It seems like I haven't seen anyone who has ascended from the lower realm surpassing the supreme realm for many years. It's also because Master has invested so many pills in me that I'm able to have such cultivation. Li Yuanqing said with a dejected expression. Zhao Baoyu's expression also turned serious. Fellow Taoist, you should still accept your grief. Since the old man has already gone west, you should think it through as soon as possible. Li Yuanqing had asked the wood spirit clone to search for clues here and happened to see a person who was hired to guard the herbal field. He needed to have a rich knowledge of medicinal herbs, and it was best if he was an alchemist. Therefore, he fabricated an identity for himself, saying that he was from a reclusive expert, that the old man was an alchemist. Li Yuanqing followed this alchemist, but this old alchemist unfortunately passed away when he went to the lower realm to look for medicinal pills. Li Yuanqing was also left behind in the lower realm and had no way to return to the immortal world. Initially, Zhao Baoyun was suspicious when he heard this story. However, the knowledge of medicinal herbs displayed by the wood spirit clone and the pills that Li Yuanqing had personally refined made Zhao Baoyun's eyes light up. This was the person he was looking for. In addition, Li Yuanqing's conditions were very low. It was basically half of the standard of others. He only needed to collect 10 spirit stones every month. Of course, the spirit stones in the immortal world were all the purest high-grade spirit stones. High-grade spirit stones were not even produced in the lower realm. One piece was equivalent to thousands of middle-grade spirit stones. This value was already high enough. However, in the immortal world, it was only the salary of a worker for a month. Li Yuanqing did not care about these things at all. He was the least lacking in materials. As long as he could get this opportunity, it would be the best. Li Yuanqing followed Zhao Baoyun's words and nodded his head gently, as if he was trying his best to hide the sadness on his face. Thank you for your concern, Brother Zhao. However, this matter has already passed so many years ago, and I have long since stopped caring about it. That's good. Since you've already returned to the immortal world, then sit down properly in the future. I see that your attainments in the field of medicinal pills are quite deep. In the future, if there's a chance, I'll introduce you to the elders in the sect. Perhaps they can even take you in as an inner sect disciple. At that time, you'll have another chance. Zhao Baoyun smiled at Li Yuanqing and patted him on the shoulder. Thank you, Brother Zhao. It's nothing. Since you were recommended by me, then from now on, the two of us are brothers. There's no need to be so polite. I still have something to do. If you have anything else to say, just send me a message. Then 1 foot 11 inches take my leave first. Brother Zhao, take care. As Zhao Baoyun spoke, he summoned a ray of light from above his head and enveloped his body. When the light dissipated, Zhao Baoyun also disappeared. After the leader left, Li Yuanqing wiped away the sadness on his face and took out the strange potion again. This fellow's words were so unreliable just now. She felt that there was something wrong with the divine immortal pill he gave her. Otherwise, Hu Jujiu and the others would not have been unconscious until now. This so-called return to God water was pitch black and emitted a very rich medicinal smell. Li Yuanqing put away the green bottle. He had just signed in from the system and obtained Lu bottles of divine essence water. He did not know what the water was used for. The blue bottle was as tall as a palm. It had a round belly, and the bottle neck was slightly narrower. The mouth of the bottle was wide, and it was filled to the brim. Li Yuanqing tilted the bottle slightly, and a transparent liquid came out. Under Li Yuanqing's control, the transparent liquid floated in the air. He did not know what the liquid was used for. It looked like ordinary water, but he could feel a very strong energy fluctuation from it. Li Yuanqing took out a drop of water from the small ball of water and looked at the crystal-clear fire spirit fruit beside him. He dropped the drop of water on the root of the fire spirit fruit. After the water droplets fell into the soil, they were quickly absorbed by the soft soil. It should be completely absorbed by these greedy plants next, but he didn't know if it would have the effect of spiritual power. Just now, Li Yuanqing had seen with his own eyes that after these plants drank a drop of liquid condensed from spiritual power, they had grown by an inch. He quietly squatted beside the herbal field and waited. At this moment, the vine that was covered with fire spirit fruits suddenly twisted violently. The root below it seemed to have touched something very terrifying and kept trembling. Li Yuanqing looked at this scene in shock. The roots of the fire spirit fruit were actually pulled out from the ground. The originally milky white roots were now as if they were on fire. They were red and had even expanded several times. The vine was like a living person. It pulled its feet out of the ground and wanted to run. However, the red power had already spread from its roots to the top, and the entire green vine was covered in a layer of red frost. The vines, which were originally only as thick as an arm, had now grown to the thickness of a person's waist. Li Yuanqing watched with his mouth agape. This fellow had grown so much in an instant. Just as he was wondering what changes it would undergo next, the vines formed fire spirit fruits and exploded one after another, turning into flames that filled the sky. They fell on the ground and dyed the world red. In just a short while, all the fire spirit fruits exploded. None of them were spared. The dozens of fire spirit fruits growing on the vine all exploded. This harvest was all over. Li Yuanqing's face trembled slightly. He just wanted to test what the water droplet was for. He did not expect that the water droplet would destroy all the fire spirit fruits on the vine. In this medicinal field, the medicinal herbs that were originally packed to the brim were now inexplicably empty. However, the medicinal herbs beside them were still working hard to grow and quickly filled up the empty space. Li Yuanqing's hand was still floating with the ball of clear water. He did not know what to do with it now. There were still 99 bottles neatly placed in the domain space. Logically speaking, the things rewarded by the system should be rare things. But how could this thing have such great damage? Could it be that this thing wasn't used on plants, so there was such a serious rejection effect? Just as Li Yuanqing was puzzled, something suddenly happened in the domain space. The two huge cocoons had a crack on each of them. However, the crack was very narrow, and there was no movement inside. Li Yuanqing looked at the cocoon worriedly. He did not know what was going on with the two of them. The incense stick had already been burned out, and Xiaodian and the spirit boy were quietly guarding by his side. Now, Hu Jujiu and Xiaoman were only one step away from entering the immortal world, but they could not take the last step. Li Yuanqing took out a huge golden demonic core and a purple gold alchemy furnace. He placed the alchemy furnace under the cocoon and threw the golden demon core into the alchemy furnace. He also took out 10 high-grade spirit stones. This was Zhao Baoyun's advance payment to him. These 10 spirit stones contained the immortal energy of the immortal world. He believed that these immortal energy could help Hu Jujiu and the other two take the final step and successfully step into the immortal world. Li Yuanqing had no time to care about the divine source water when he was busy here. He put the ball of water into a jade box and casually put it aside. Now, Xiaodian and Spirit Boy were very interested in the water droplet in the jade box. The spirit child opened his eyes wide and laid down beside the box. His small hands opened the box uncontrollably. He stretched out a tiny finger and dipped it into the water drop, greedily stuffing it into his mouth. Li Yuanqing was busy throwing all the materials into the alchemy furnace and mixing them evenly. Finally, they turned into purple steam that rose from the alchemy furnace and wrapped the two cocoons within. The purple steam was very evenly emitted from the alchemy furnace and continuously seeped into the cocoon. After doing all this, Li Yuanqing finally heaved a sigh of relief. This was the purest power. He believed that it would help them successfully complete their transformation if he poured it all into their bodies. Before coming, Li Yuanqing had specially raised the cultivation of the two of them. Now, the two of them were both third-level array formation realm experts. Although they were not considered very powerful in the immortal world, it should be enough. Li Yuanqing was just about to heave a sigh of relief when a strange sound came from the side. The spirit boy was just curious and accidentally licked a mouthful of divine source water. Now, this little fellow was lying on the ground, rolling around. Its tongue was swollen like a red pepper, and it looked very comical. As he rolled around, he kept blowing air, trying to blow away the burning sensation on his tongue, but it was useless. Li Yuanqing hurried over to the spirit boy's side. At first glance, this kid's symptoms were too strange. No matter what he ate, he had never become like this. He looked at the open jade box and Xiaodian, who was standing cautiously at the side. He understood everything. Li Yuanqing recalled the scene when the fire spirit fruit exploded into pieces on the ground. At that time, this little fellow was about to explode and die. Wouldn't all his years of cultivation be in vain? While he was still thinking about what he should do to help this little fellow, the spirit child suddenly ran toward the lakeside. After this little fellow ran to the lakeside, it directly poured its head into the lake water and could not pull it out for a long time. Right beside his head, circles of bubbles filled the air, and water vapor kept rising. It was as if a small volcano had erupted inside, constantly emitting heat and steaming the lake water inside. Li Yuanqing stood behind the spiritual boy and watched. The little guy's body was still twisting left and right anxiously, but after he reached the back, his body stopped moving. It wasn't that he was dead, but he seemed to have calmed down at the end. He lay there very comfortably. After a while, Li Yuanqing pulled the spirit boy out. At this time, his tongue had already returned to normal. It wasn't as swollen as before. The spirit child was still in a daze. He had a smile on his face as if he had drunk too much. He looked at Li Yuanqing with a misty gaze and stretched out a small hand to pinch Li Yuanqing's face. He looked like he was drunk. However, Li Yuanqing could clearly sense that the spirit boy's strength was stronger than before. He looked at the little fellow strangely and then at the water droplet in the box beside him. He took out a small bowl and filled it with clear water. Then, he took out a small portion of the water and placed it in front of Xiaodian. Xiaodian had seen the miserable state of the spirit child just now, so he carefully took 2 steps back. He looked at Li Yuanqing timidly and begged for mercy. Li Yuanqing walked over to Xiaodian with a smile, pulled him into his arms, and brought the bowl to his mouth. Xiaodian, didn't you see that he ate so much at once just now? Isn't he still fine now? Drink this bowl, and see if you can increase your cultivation a little more. At first, Xiaodian was still a little resistant, but when she smelled the smell coming from the bowl, her consciousness slowly became a little blurry. It was as if there was a very strong attraction that attracted him, making him want to drink the water in the bowl in one gulp. He swallowed lightly and looked up at Li Yuanqing innocently. Don't be afraid. I'm here with you. Nothing will happen. Xiaodian timidly held the bowl in her hands and slowly took a sip. He seemed to feel that the taste was not bad. He raised his head and drank the bowl of water in one gulp. After drinking it, he even licked his lips, looking as if he had not had enough. After a while, it became smaller. It felt like something wasn't right. Her cheeks turned red, and her body turned red as if she had been dyed red. However, his reaction was not that strong. He fell to the ground and fell asleep. The spirit boy was still sitting at the side with a demon core in his arms. He was happily playing with the demon core. It seemed that his previous enthusiasm had not dissipated. Li Yuanqing looked back and saw that the 2 cocoons had stabilized. Hu Jujiu and the others' fluctuating power had gradually stabilized and the power inside was slowly rising. Li Yuanqing turned around and returned to the herbal field. He looked at the empty space and took out the drop of water. This large drop of water hadn't been used up much after all the tossing and turning just now. Since the 2 little fellows were able to absorb the power in the water droplet, Li Yuanqing thought about the performance of the fire spirit fruit just now. It was obvious that the fire spirit fruit could absorb the power within it. The power of the rising force seemed to be a little too violent. For it, it might be better to dilute it. However, there was a fixed amount of production in this small field every month. If he could not hand it over by then, it would be a huge dereliction of duty. At that time, he might not even be able to keep this job. He had already lost a fire spirit fruit just now. If he lost another one, he did not know if he could make up for the loss. Li Yuanqing took out a wooden bucket and poured a small drop of water into it. After that, he filled the bucket with clear water. After mixing the water evenly, he poured half of the bucket of water into the roots of the fire spirit fruit in another herbal field. After he poured the half bucket of water, he stood quietly at the side and waited, hoping that he would not directly explode the fire spirit fruit this time. The water slowly seeped into the soil. The fire spirit fruit, which was growing very evenly, suddenly stopped growing. The roots below it seemed to be busy with something else, hindering its growth. Not long after, the roots of the fire spirit fruit suddenly began to tremble again. However, this time, he did not pull out the roots and run away. Although he was trembling slightly this time, it was an excited tremble. All of a sudden, the soil below was pushed open, and a large bulge appeared on the originally flat soil. The bulge split open, revealing a very strong root. The dragon fruit began to extend upward from the roots at the bottom. It had grown 2 to 3 times thicker than the original foundation. The herbal field, which was already very crowded, became even more crowded. The vines of this fire spirit fruit directly squeezed the growth space of the other brothers by a large margin. Moreover, the fire spirit fruit on his vines was blown up like a balloon. It was only the size of a human head a moment ago, but now it had grown to almost 3 feet tall. The heavy fruit fell on the vine, barely falling to the ground. Li Yuanqing was dumbfounded as he looked at the fire spirit fruit that was half the height of a person. This was a little too exaggerated. Moreover, this thing took effect so quickly. In just a short while, it had grown the entire fire spirit fruit to this size. This was only a small drop in a bottle. He plucked a fire spirit fruit and placed it on the ridge. He stroked his chin and sized up the fire spirit fruit. This fire spirit fruit was really too big. If this thing was taken out to report, it would probably be difficult to explain. If he cultivated such a large fire spirit fruit, it would delay the production. That would be troublesome. It was just that this thing was too big, and the spiritual power inside was even denser. Such a big fire spirit fruit was equivalent to 7 or 8 of the previous ones. This divine source water was really useful. It directly accelerated the growth of the fire spirit fruit, which was supposed to be 2 months old, to such a short period of time that it instantly ripened. However, Li Yuanqing had to think of a way now. If he wanted to benefit from these fire spirit fruits, he had to think of a way to report to the sect. Otherwise, if all these fire spirit fruits were nurtured, the sect would not be able to get anything when they came to collect them. At this moment, a faint signal came from outside the valley. Someone was coming. Li Yuanqing stored all the fire spirit fruits that had been nurtured into his domain space, and even uprooted the vines. After a while, Zhao Baoyun landed beside Li Yuanqing. He looked at the empty space in front of him with his mouth agape. "Brother Li, what are you doing?" "Brother Zhao, I'm really sorry. Just now, I wanted to clean up the medicinal herbs here, but I didn't expect these medicinal herbs to directly shatter into the ground for some reason. The vines also melted into the ground." Zhao Baoyun looked at the fiery red color on the ground and warned Li Yuanqing in pain. "You should look at the things on it first before you make a move. These are all delicate things." "Brother Zhao, I'm really sorry. I wonder if this thing—" Forget it. I will deduct it from your salary next month." Zhao Baoyun added, "There's an old handyman at San Yuan's side. Bring my introduction and ask him for advice. Don't let this happen again." The 3 Ians that Zhao Baoyun mentioned was the 3 Ians herb garden. The 3 Yuan herb garden was very close to the 9 Yuan where Li Yuanqing was. The distance between the two was only a few dozen miles. In a short while, they could reach the periphery of the 3 Yuan herb garden. Li Yuanqing held a jade token in his hand. This was the token that Zhao Baoyun had given him. He stood alone outside the valley, waiting. The herb gardens in the martial essence sect had the same structure. They were surrounded by 3 hills. Their seemingly vast herb gardens were actually mostly man-made. Li Yuanqing had also seen the medicinal fields of other sections. The structure was quite different from this one. It could be said that each sect had its own unique structure. As he was looking around, a small path suddenly opened up in the bamboo forest in front of him. A middle-aged man with very fair skin walked out. The middle-aged man was originally expressionless, but when he saw that Li Yuanqing was alone, his expression became a little impatient. He walked to Li Yuanqing's side and looked around Li Yuanqing. Finally, his gaze stopped on Li Yuanqing's body and fell on the jade token. The man took the jade token and closed his eyes to sense for a while. Then, he casually put away the jade token and waved at Li Yuanqing. "Come with me. Don't just stand here like a fool." After he finished speaking, he walked into the bamboo forest by himself, without the slightest intention of paying attention to Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing looked at his footprints as he passed through the winding path in the bamboo forest and arrived at the vast medicinal garden. The structure here was too similar to his place. After Li Yuanqing came here, he felt as if he had returned to his own territory. What's wrong? Didn't they all have manuals? How could there be something that he couldn't understand? The man sat under a wooden shed. A pile of medicinal herbs was placed on a small wooden table in front of him. Some were dried branches and leaves, while some were crushed pulp. There were all kinds of materials placed there, and there was a huge pile. Li Yuanqing coughed lightly and said, "The situation is like this. I accidentally broke the vines of 2 fire spirit fruits. I don't know how to make up for the lack of production." The man raised his eyes and glanced at Li Yuanqing in confusion. "Didn't you just arrive? How could he be so careless? These teaching materials were all extremely precious treasures. If he damaged one, he would be in trouble. Why did he have 2 vines? That fruit should still be usable, right? I can't use the fruit anymore, so I came to ask you." "Ask me?" The man looked at Li Yuanqing unhappily. He seemed to be dissatisfied with Li Yuanqing's attitude. He turned to the side and fiddled with the half-finished medicinal herbs in front of him. "I have nothing to ask. Everything we know is in your jade pendant. If you can't find it there, it's useless to ask me. Li Yuanqing came to his side and sat down on the small stool. He looked at him and asked, "Senior, is there any way for me to make up for the loss of this portion of the fire spirit fruit? If such a thing happens again in the future, I'm afraid my harvest will be reduced. At that time, I won't be able to keep this job." The man continued to ignore Li Yuanqing's question. "You just have to be careful. Although these medicinal herbs are delicate, they won't be damaged just by touching them. Who knows how you did it? The fruits on the 2 vines are all ruined? That's not a small amount." The man originally wanted to reject Li Yuanqing, but Li Yuanqing calling him senior made him feel very comfortable. He could not help but say a few more words. "After you go back, carefully read the rules recorded on it. Don't be so careless. Nothing will happen." The man looked at Li Yuanqing and tried to persuade him. However, Li Yuanqing's purpose in coming here today was not just for this sentence. He had other plans. "Senior, do you really not have any other methods?" Li Yuanqing suddenly took out a wooden box and placed it in front of the man. "I still don't know your name, senior." The man's gaze landed on the wooden box. He pretended to be nonchalant and opened the wooden box a little. With just a glance, he immediately closed the wooden box and placed one hand on it gently. His expression was much friendlier. "My name is Wang Lin. You can call me Big Brother Wang from now on." "Thank you, Brother Wang." Li Yuanqing slightly clasped his hands at Wang Lin.
I am Li Yuanqing.
"I just arrived and didn't know the rules. I hope Big Brother Wang can forgive me." "Hey." Wang Lin waved his hand and took out 2 teacups to fill them with spirit tea. "There are no rules, so you don't have to care so much. However, the monthly production of these herbs is fixed, and there are some loose amounts. Generally speaking, you won't run into a situation that is too difficult. Big Brother might not know this, but this little brother has finally gotten such a job, and I don't want to lose it for no reason, so I want to be safe. If Big Brother has a way, please tell me the truth." Wang Lin's hand gently rubbed the wooden box as he pondered and looked at Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing had originally planned to come here today to try his luck. However, looking at the current situation, it was obvious that this person named Wang Lin had some tricks up his sleeve. Does Big Brother still have some worries? Wang Lin waved his hand and smiled. "I'm not worried. You said that place has it, but the sect forbids the guards of the herb garden from doing business in the black market." "Black market?" Wang Lin pretended to casually say, "The sect is quite strict with the black market. If they find out, they'll immediately be expelled." "Is that so? But speaking of which, the sect doesn't have much supervision over this matter." Wang Lin's eyes moved slightly, and he looked into the distance. "As long as I'm careful, I won't give myself away." When Li Yuanqing heard this, he was delighted and immediately took out a small jade bottle from his pocket. This time, Wang Lin didn't even look at it as he put it away. The smile on his face became even wider. "Little brother, look at what you're doing. This is the first time we've met, and you're taking so many things." "Big Brother Wang, what are you talking about? In the future, I will rely on Big Brother to take care of me." After Wang Lin took 2 portions, he was in a good mood and couldn't stop laughing. "Good brother, just based on your words, if you need anything in the future, feel free to come find me. As long as I, Wang Lin, can do it, I will not refuse." "That's great." Speaking of the black market, there is a golden bamboo mountain 300 miles to the southeast. There is a dense underground black market on the golden bamboo mountain. It is a secret place. "Can I buy the fire spirit fruit there?" Li Yuanqing immediately asked. "It's not just the fire spirit fruit." Wang Lin mysteriously smiled and looked at Li Yuanqing. "However, that place is dangerous. It's not something a kid like you can handle. If you go back quickly and don't waste time there. Do you understand?" "Thank you for your advice, Brother Wang." Li Yuanqing heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. At least he knew a way now. He had so many plots in his hands. If he couldn't find a market to sell the fire spirit fruit, then there was not much use for him to sell so many of them. He just didn't know if he could sell the giant fire spirit fruit there. Just as Li Yuanqing was thinking, Wang Lin mysteriously approached him again. Wang Lin lowered his voice and whispered to Li Yuanqing, "Don't say that I don't take care of you. You've just arrived, and there are many things you don't know. The maintenance materials distributed by the sect every month would usually have a surplus of 2 or 3 portions. If you use them properly, you might be able to have 7 or 8 more portions. What does Brother Wang mean by this? Li Yuanqing pretended not to understand. However, Li Yuanqing had a rough guess in his heart. Each of these medicinal fields was condensed from a complicated array. Those medicinal herbs grew very safely under the protection of the array. Moreover, there was a powerful spirit-gathering array that allowed them to obtain more spirit energy to replenish. The source of their Ling power was in the huge Ling vein under the herb garden, which was endless. However, because those arrays were too efficient, they were very seriously damaged. This was also one of the costs of their medicinal herbs growing at an extremely fast speed. It was precisely because of these losses that the sect would also distribute some materials at the same time every month during the harvest to replenish the losses of the array formation. The extra materials for repairing the array formation are all yours. There's no need to report to the sect. Make good use of these materials. After working in the East Gate for a few years, you can have your own medicinal field. Wang Lin mysteriously smiled and gently patted Li Yuanqing's shoulder. Don't underestimate these materials. Although these materials can't directly provide spiritual power, they are still valuable. These are all potential benefits. Li Yuanqing had never thought that there was actually such a move. Looking at Wang Lin's stuttering manner, Li Yuanqing had a guess. This guy must have planted some herbs behind his back. Otherwise, he wouldn't know so much about the black market. Li Yuanqing pretended to be enlightened as he looked at Wang Lin. Thank you for telling me, Big Brother Wang. If it weren't for Big Brother's words, I probably wouldn't have known about this. Therefore, when you maintain the array formation, be more careful and don't waste so many materials. The extra materials will all be yours. Thank you for your advice, Big Brother. I will definitely remember it. All right. I see that you're a smart kid. If you have any problems in the future, come and find me. Li Yuanqing was satisfied with what he wanted and was about to leave when Wang Lin gave him a way out. Li Yuanqing stood up and clasped his hands at Wang Lin. Then I won't disturb you any longer. I'll go back first. Remember, this black market is not a friendly place. If you really want to go to those places, you have to be more careful. Also, if you are found out in the future, it has nothing to do with me. Don't worry, Big Brother Wang. This matter has nothing to do with Big Brother Wang. Li Yuanqing left Sanyuan in a hurry. After returning to Jiyuan, he looked at the large piece of fertile farmland in front of him and secretly made a plan. For now, the most important thing was to find out how much material support the black market of Golden Bamboo Mountain could provide for him. If the black market could provide a large number of fire spirit fruits or other medicinal herbs, Li Yuanqing could even turn all the medicinal fields into his own experimental base and produce a large number of large-scale spirit fruits. He simply tidied himself up and specially picked 2 ripe fire spirit fruits to carry with him. Then, he hurriedly left Jiyuan. After leaving the sect and flying southeast for 300 miles, they could see a very unique mountain peak. The mountain peak was golden from top to bottom. If one looked carefully, they could see some golden bamboos growing all over the mountain. From the looks of it, this mountain should be the Golden Bamboo Mountain Wang Lin was talking about. After Li Yuanqing saw the Golden Bamboo Mountain, he landed in a small valley not far from the mountain peak. He found a very remote abandoned cave and sat down cross-legged. If he planned to take action here in the future, it would be better to have a fake identity. Li Yuanqing slowly closed his eyes. A stream of water vapor slowly rose from his body. The water vapor wrapped around him and formed a ball of fire-like gas. Li Yuanqing's body continuously twisted and changed within the water vapor. After a while, the water vapor dissipated, and an elegant young man walked out. This young man looked much more mature than Li Yuanqing. His cheeks were squarish, his skin was darker, and his body frame was wider. He was skinny and tall. Li Yuanqing looked up and down at his appearance and felt that he was quite satisfied. This thin appearance was much more convenient compared to his round and tender appearance in the past. After completing this operation, Li Yuanqing walked out of the abandoned cave abode. He stayed in the valley for a while and set up a small concealment array before leaving silently. At the foot of the Golden Bamboo Mountain, there were a few small paths that extended from the Golden Peak to the outside. They were very far away from the forest outside. A tall and thin man was walking along one of the paths towards the golden bamboo mountain. Suddenly, two men jumped down from a big tree beside him. The two men were half naked. One of them carried a large ringed saber on his shoulder, and the other held a black iron rod in his arms. The two of them looked at the thin man in front of them with ill intentions. "Who are you? Why did you come here?" The two men closed in on Li Yuanqing, blocking him from both sides. Li Yuanqing took a timid step back and looked at the two men worriedly. "I'm here to sell something." "Selling things?" The man carrying the big ring-shaped saber smiled disdainfully at Li Yuanqing and said, "What do you have in your hand? Do you know who is going in and out of this place? This thing of mine is very expensive. I went to several places where others couldn't afford it before finally finding this place." Li Yuanqing's words surprised the two men. They looked at each other and laughed as if they were watching a joke. "Kid, you must be joking with me. With your appearance, what can you have that others can't afford?" Li Yuanqing waved his hand, and a circle of mist suddenly rose in front of him. The fog was blown away by the wind, revealing a huge black cloth below. Under the black cloth was a tall and big thing, but it was unknown what it was. "Kid, who do you want to sell this lousy stone to? This is a place that sells medicinal herbs and magical artifacts. If you dare to fool us, you'll have a good time today." Li Yuanqing ignored him. He suddenly pulled off the black cloth with one hand, revealing a huge fruit that was half the height of a person. The moment they saw the huge fruit, the two brothers were so scared that their eyes widened. The two of them did not speak for a long time. They did not know what to say either. The two of them had never seen such a huge fire spirit fruit in their lives. How could this fire spirit fruit grow so big? Even the fire spirit fruit cultivated by that large sect was only the size of a human head. However, this fruit was as big as half a person. Li Yuanqing coughed lightly and added, "I know a senior who grows medicinal herbs. This is the fire spirit fruit that senior recently planted. He spent a lot of effort on it. I wonder if he can sell it here?" The two brothers finally reacted when they heard Li Yuanqing's words. They looked at Li Yuanqing with their mouths agape. "Where did you get this?" The man holding the iron rod could not help but ask. The big ringed saber next to him went up and slapped the back of his head. "Idiot, didn't he already say that? This was obtained from a senior who grew medicinal herbs." Yes. I forgot just now. Look at this." Li Yuanqing covered the black cloth again and put away the fire spirit fruit. He looked at the two men with some worry and asked, "If I can't sell it here, then forget it. I'll look for other places." Just as Li Yuanqing was about to leave, the man with the big ringed saber immediately circled around and blocked Li Yuanqing's path. "Brother, you can't leave. What's wrong? You must sell this fire spirit fruit here. I think it's a little inconvenient for the two of you." "There's nothing inconvenient about it. Leave this fire spirit fruit to us brothers. We'll definitely sell it for you, but you have to know our rules." The man gave a look to his brother beside him. The man holding the wooden stick immediately added, "We brothers will definitely help you sell this fire spirit fruit for a good price, but you have to give us a 10% commission." The corner of Li Yuanqing's mouth twitched slightly. He could not help but want to make a move just now and directly beat up these two people. Was the remuneration here that exaggerated? 10% of the reward was simply robbery. However, Li Yuanqing still resisted the urge and pretended to be very weak. After thinking about it with difficulty, he rejected them. "I'm sorry, these herbs were painstakingly planted by that old senior. I can't have this idea." Li Yuanqing was about to leave after saying that. At this moment, the two of them exchanged glances with each other. In the end, the man with the big ringed saber gritted his teeth as if he had made a very difficult decision. "How about this? We'll only charge you half of the commission today since we see that you're pitiful. How about this? This is already very little." But what but? "Brother, hurry up and come in with me. If you hesitate any longer, you won't be able to sell for a good price after the peak period and those big customers leave." With the help of these two people, Li Yuanqing entered the Golden Bamboo Mountain at an extremely fast speed. Of course, the black market of Golden Bamboo Mountain couldn't be seen from the outside. It was inside Golden Bamboo Mountain. If one wanted to enter, They needed a special token to pass through the defensive array outside. After passing through the mountain-protecting array outside, they arrived at a very narrow and dark passageway. The three of them walked along the passageway. After a while, they finally broke free from the quiet atmosphere. The atmosphere was very lively, and the hot feeling instantly filled his empty ear canal. The three of them took a few more steps forward when the scene in front of them suddenly became clear. The narrow passage turned into a vast hall, which looked like an upside-down bowl. The hall was surrounded by many passageways. Although this hall looked quite spacious, it was not that big compared to the entire area of Mount Jindu. Li Yuanqing gave it a simple sense. In those seemingly inconspicuous passages, there were other energy fluctuations. Presumably, there was more than one hall. After entering the corridor, there was a table next to him. A white-haired old woman was sitting behind the table, leaning against the rocking chair with her eyes closed in boredom. "Grandma Huang, this brother wants to join our club." The old woman half opened her eyes and swept her gaze across Li Yuanqing. Her withered hands casually threw out a wooden token, and it happened to fall into Li Yuanqing's arms. "Take it." Li Yuanqing held the wooden token and looked at the old woman. "What are you planning to sell?" Before Li Yuanqing could reply, the brother next to him took out a high-grade spirit stone and placed it in front of the old woman. "Grandma Huang, this is his deposit." The old woman's eyes widened slightly as she looked at the man's face in confusion. "Grandma, don't worry so much. Take this spirit stone and don't delay our business." Seeing the two of them so anxious, Grandma Huang took a deep look at Li Yuanqing and moved her hands slightly on the stage in front of her. Li Yuanqing only felt the wooden token in his hand tremble slightly. Then, the old lady lay down again and closed her eyes to rest. "Brother, hurry up and leave. We can't delay any longer. This is a good thing. It's a lively time now. It won't be easy to sell it after people leave." After the three of them left, the old lady opened her eyes and looked in the direction where the three of them had left. She could not help but say, "Another fat sheep." Li Yuanqing's ears twitched slightly. He was supported by two people as he walked all the way in. They did not stay in the hall outside for long. Instead, they came to a slightly wider corridor and directly walked into the corridor. After walking out of this passageway, they came to a smaller hall, but it was very quiet here. In the middle of the hall, there was a sunken round platform with high chairs beside it. Many people were sitting there. Many of them were wearing cloaks and masks. No one showed their true faces. When Li Yuanqing came in just now, the two brothers had also put on a mask. The two of them excitedly pulled Li Yuanqing along the side aisle and hurriedly went backstage. Li Yuanqing took a look. There was a woman with a graceful figure on the stage. She was holding a tray in her hand. On the tray was an extremely clean jade bottle. The Phoenix White Jade Pill uses the inner core of a third-grade Supreme Realm Phoenix as the main ingredient. It takes 49 days to refine it into 3 pills. After consuming this Phoenix White Jade Pill, it can greatly repair the injuries of the body in a very short period of time. This is especially useful for cultivators with fire spiritual energy. This item is extremely precious. There are a total of 3 of them placed together. The starting bid is 20 high-grade spirit stones. When Li Yuanqing heard the starting price of 20 high-grade spirit stones, he went backstage. It was much quieter here, and the sound outside was isolated. There were many people busy backstage. There were cages, tables, and all kinds of messy equipment placed here. All of these were for the stage in front to have a better effect. Many people were busy here. Most of them looked relaxed and tired. They were discussing where to go later. Compared to the past, there are fewer items in today's auction. It's not as lively. I really didn't take out any real treasures today. It can be considered that the price of the last few bottles of medicinal pills has increased. Otherwise, I'm afraid that everyone would have left long ago. But that's good. I'm not very busy today, so I can sneak out early. Why don't you focus on your cultivation? You only think about going out and fooling around with that demoness of yours every day. I want to see when you can break through to the Supreme Realm. You still have the cheek to talk about me. So what if you're guarding that female disciple of yours? Li Yuanqing listened as he walked over. These people chatted about some nonsense. Finally, they arrived at a very quiet house. The house was made of pure white jade. There was a strange blue-purple color lingering inside the jade. Energy swirled around it, forming a very three-dimensional isolation effect. In the small house, a man covered in gemstones was sitting in front of a small table. Purple mist was lingering in front of him, and a unique fragrance was wafting from his body. Master Wu Yin. The two men were in a hurry just now, but after entering the house, they became much more cautious and guarded the door carefully. The man who was called Master Wu Yin did not even turn his head back. He put down the work in his hands and asked nonchalantly, "Did the two of you bring anyone here today?" The two of them happily pulled Li Yuanqing in and stood beside Master Wu Yin. "Master, we really found something good today. This kid has a very huge fire spirit fruit. That fire spirit fruit is as tall as a person. It will definitely sell for a good price." The luxuriously dressed master finally turned around and saw that Li Yuanqing had also turned pale. He turned his body back and yawned in boredom. "Tit, I should have said it many times. Don't take things of the fire spirit fruit level from me. But Grandmaster's fire spirit fruit is really different from others." As he spoke, he hurriedly urged Li Yuanqing to take out the fire spirit fruit again. Li Yuanqing reluctantly summoned the fire scale kingdom. The huge fruit appeared in the room, making the room seem much smaller. When Master Wu Yin saw the fire spirit fruit, he was stunned for a moment. He never thought that there would really be such a huge fire spirit fruit. What kind of fruit is this? Li Yuanqing was still a little uncertain. He had not had much contact with the fire spirit fruit in the past. These are all pure fire spirit fruits, but they are fire spirit kings. Master Wu Yin ignored Li Yuanqing's rambling. He poked a small hole in the fire spirit fruit with a finger and put it in his mouth. After a while, the master suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the huge fire spirit fruit with burning eyes. Not only is this fruit huge, but the energy inside is also extremely pure. It's completely different from ordinary fire spirit fruits. "Master, what did I tell you just now? It's definitely the real thing this time." The tits clapped their hands excitedly. They had caught something good this time. Master Wu Yin ignored them and asked Li Yuanqing, "Where did you get this fruit?" Li Yuanqing replied with the same answer as before, "My fruit was personally cultivated by a senior I know. However, it is not convenient for this senior to reveal his name." "What senior? Why have I never heard of anyone who can grow such a huge fire spirit fruit? I'm afraid I can't reveal this." "Hey, why are you so tactless? Master Wu Yin is very knowledgeable. Asking you is for your own good." The titmouse warned Li Yuanqing with a displeased look. Wu Yin waved his hand and looked at Li Yuanqing. "It's fine. If it's not convenient, then I won't ask. Masters have their own unique personalities." "Thank you. How many fire spirit fruits do you have?" "It's not a lot, but how can I explain it to Senior if I can sell it for a good price?" "Can you sell it for a good price?" Master Wu Yin seemed to have heard a joke. "This treasure of yours has never appeared before. Do you think it can be sold for a good price?" The small auction of the black market in Golden Bamboo Mountain was coming to an end. After auctioning off the last few pills, the auction was about to end. The auction this time is a little boring. I came all the way here and thought that there would be some new treasures. A sloppy old man scratched his exposed belly in boredom. The old man's long hair was covered with weeds and hung loosely on his body. His face was ashen, as if he had just crawled out of a mud pit. He was also holding a large oily gourd in his hand. Every time he tilted the gourd to his mouth, a large amount of wine would gush out of the gourd. It was as if his gourd could never be filled. No matter how much he drank, it was always full. He had taken up quite a few seats by himself, but no one dared to come over and care about him. Seeing that there was only one item left in the auction, and it was about to be sold, some people had already left quietly. The old man hung his dirty gourd on his waist. He was about to stand up. All of a sudden, his red nose twitched slightly as he looked in the direction of the small door in confusion. "This smell?" The old man's dazed eyes were now clear for a while. His eyes sparkled as he stared in the direction of the back door for a long time. The anxious people at the side left one by one. They chatted as they walked, but the old man didn't complain anymore. He sat down again and leaned back in his chair leisurely, drinking wine one mouthful at a time. Then we should congratulate this gentleman for obtaining these 2 bottles of youth rejuvenation pills. This auction. The host on the stage was about to speak when he suddenly stopped. He stared at the side in confusion for a while and seemed to hear something in his ears. The man on the stage widened his eyes slightly. After confirming it for a while, he finally reacted. Everyone, you can't leave yet. Many people had already left their seats, but they were called back by his words. I just received news that we have another mysterious guest who has sent us an extremely rare treasure. What treasure? Why so sudden? What could it be? Did you hear any news before? No, I haven't. The previous news was only these few medicinal pills. He had not heard of anything else. The people below were all very puzzled. They did not know what this fellow was talking about. The host regained his usual calmness. Everyone may be very curious about what kind of treasure it is now. For me to be able to make you fall, I guarantee that this treasure will definitely make everyone excited. As soon as he finished speaking, 2 handymen immediately carried a huge shelf up from behind. The cooperation between them was very smooth. The 2 handymen bent down and walked forward. When they reached the back of the host, they stopped and put down the shelves in their hands. The shelf was covered with a large black cloth. The black cloth was bulging, and it was unknown what was inside. What's down there? Could it be some good stone? Could it be that a new species of demon beast has been born? It doesn't look like a demon beast. It can't be some new type of magic weapon, right? It looked like this, and it had such a huge body. It was still a treasure. Everyone below had different opinions about this so-called treasure. No one knew what the good thing they took out at the end was. Many people had already left just now. The abbot suddenly took off the black cloth on top, revealing the 2 fire spirit fruits wrapped in lustrous yellow energy below. The fire spirit fruit was tightly sealed by the protective array. It did not reveal any special aura just now, so no one could guess it. The moment the huge fire spirit fruit appeared, everyone below was stunned. None of them had ever seen such a huge fire spirit fruit. The fire spirit fruit was a very commonly used material, but generally speaking, the high-quality ones were only the size of a human head. What kind of vine could grow so big? The host's gaze swept across the faces of the people below. Seeing that they were all shocked, he relaxed a little and finally stabilized the situation. Everyone, please see this. This giant spirit fruit was planted by a good friend of Master Wu Yan, a very mysterious apothecary. This new type of spirit-gathering fruit has cost that master countless painstaking efforts. It's very expensive. Today is the first time it has appeared here. Its value is self-evident. I want all 20 high-grade spirit stones. Suddenly, someone started bidding before he could finish. The hosting god looked at the person and warned, "Fellow Taoist, the rules here are very clear. We'll bid according to the rules. I haven't said the base price for the fire spirit fruit yet. How much do you want to start?" The starting price of these 2 gigantic spirit fruits is 10 high-grade spirit stones. Each bid will be increased by 1 high-grade spiritual stone. I'll bid 20 yuan. Everyone, give me face and don't snatch it from me. You want to buy it for only 20 yuan? Could he let everyone experience how rich the power of this so-called giant spirit fruit was? If they bought an empty shell back, no one would be willing to do this business. The host gently rubbed the top of the fire spirit fruit, and a small crack appeared on the small formation. A very rich fruit fragrance instantly filled the entire hall. There was a lot of fire attribute spiritual energy mixed in this fruit fragrance, and the burning smell ran amok in everyone's nostrils. Wow! Everyone was excited. When they first saw this huge fruit, they were just curious. But now, this really made them have the urge to buy it immediately. 25. I must get these 2 fire spirit fruits. Everyone, give me face. There's no need to compete like this. No matter how good this thing is, it's just a basic material. However, I've been refining a set of fire attribute spiritual liquid recently, and I just happen to need this giant spiritual fruit. If you can bear with the pain and give up your treasures, I will definitely take a step back when I encounter other treasures in the future. I bid 27. I don't know how many of these spirit-gathering fruits your pavilion has. If there are more opportunities in the future, then it doesn't matter if you give them away this time. Li Yuanqing really wanted to say that his giant spiritual fruit was unlimited. He could have as many as he wanted. It was just that if he could not expose all his assets at once, it would be somewhat inappropriate. Master told me that there might be a few dozen pills produced every month. Master Wuyan nodded gently and said into the communication device, "Tell them that we only have these 2 giant spiritual fruits here now. If they want them in the future, they'll have to rely on luck." The corner of Li Yuanqing's mouth twitched slightly. This fellow had asked him that question just now. It was simply a formality. The receptionist looked at the man with regret and replied, "Fellow Taoist, if there were more, we would definitely have taken them out. Unfortunately, this Grandmaster has only taken out these 2. I think this opportunity is very rare." 30. Don't snatch it from me. 32 pieces. I must get these 2 today. They were fighting among themselves, and the price was already more than 20 high-grade spirit stones, higher than the starting price of 10 high-grade spirit stones. Many people below were anxious. Many people weighed their wallets and silently retreated. They sat in their seats and quietly watched the show. After the price reached 32 pieces, the data became more sensitive. Generally speaking, although this thing was huge, the fire spirit fruit was a very ordinary item. If it really couldn't be bought, even if one bought 100 fire spirit fruits, it wouldn't cost 3 high-grade spirit stones. Was it worth it to spend so much money for this large fire spirit fruit? 32 high-grade spirit stones going once. The host smiled at the customers below and continued to wait. 32 high-grade spirit stones.
$50.
Suddenly, a lazy voice rang out, drowning out all the voices in the venue. Everyone's eyes were gathered at the back, in a dark corner. The old man raised his greasy and dirty gourd above his head. Facing so many people's gazes, he yawned lazily and scratched his belly. Even the host on the stage was stunned on the spot. For a moment, he did not know what to say. "Manhua, is this old man crazy?" "Sure." This was the crazy alcoholic, Wang Lan. You couldn't afford to offend him, so don't let him hold a grudge against you. "What is it?" "He's the crazy alcoholic, Wang Lan. Otherwise, who else could swagger in and out of these black markets every day without even wearing a mask? How unlucky. Why did I bump into him today? Hurry up and leave. No one can stop this guy when he goes crazy." This thing was probably snatched away by someone else. Many people hadn't noticed the old man earlier. Now that the old man had raised the price to $50, many people silently retreated from the side. Li Yuanqing silently stared at the strange-looking old man through the crack. This old man was too generous. 2 fire spirit fruits could be sold for a good price of 50 high-grade spirit stones. If he mutated all the fire spirit fruits in those medicinal fields, the high-grade spirit stones alone could probably pile up into a mountain. Even someone as rich as Li Yuanqing couldn't help but feel confused when he encountered such a quick way to earn money. The old man's expression was originally quite relaxed. After a while, his expression suddenly turned ugly. He glared at the host and said snappily, "You little brat, why aren't you bidding? How long do you want me to wait?" Only then did the host react. He hurriedly hammered the stage and shouted loudly, 50 high-grade spirit stones going once. 50 spirit stones going twice. 50 spirit stones going 3 times. Deal. Congratulations to Apothecary Wang for obtaining these 2 extremely rare giant spirit fruits. Even the experienced and knowledgeable Master Wuyan could not help but be stunned for a long time. He turned around and looked at Li Yuanqing as if he was looking at a treasure. "May I know which celestial mountain you are cultivating on?" Li Yuanqing replied without thinking, "I'm a handyman who looks after the herbal fields in the Yellow Sect." Yellow Gate. Master Wuyan's eyes widened slightly. The way he looked at Li Yuanqing changed a few times again. He seemed to be searching for the old guy in the yellow door who was related to the fire spirit fruit. The planting techniques of the masters in the Yellow Sect are all extremely superb. I was lucky enough to experience it before. I wonder if young friend can reveal some information about this fire spirit fruit. Which master can actually grow such a fruit? I really want to pay a visit. Li Yuanqing hurriedly shook his head and pretended to be cautious. But I'm afraid it's a little inconvenient. Before Master came, he told me not to reveal this matter, so I chose to come here. Don't be anxious, young friend. Master Wu Yin hurriedly comforted. I don't have any ill intentions. It was just that I was in a hurry just now. I casually asked this question. Just pretend that I never asked. Thank you for your understanding, Master. That's easy. That's easy. You said that dozens of giant spirit fruits can be produced every month? If what Master said is correct, there should be no problem if the time and place are right. All right then. This is an opportunity between the two of us. If we work together, we can rely on this giant spiritual fruit to earn a lot of money. Master Wu Yin gently pulled Li Yuanqing over and sat beside him on the floating futon. In recent years, there have been more and more alchemists and alchemists. The demand for medicinal herbs had also increased by a large margin, and this was a huge gap. Li Yuanqing nodded cautiously and replied, Master said the same thing. That's why this is our chance. Now that you have such a rare treasure in your hands, as long as we manage it well, we will definitely be able to sell this giant spiritual fruit for a good price. These masters might know more than me, but I don't quite understand. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you understand or not. Master Wu Yin pulled out a small ball of air in front of Li Yuanqing as a representative of the sect. You see, although these sects have medicinal herbs planted, most of them are only provided to the inner parts of the sect. It's easier said than done for rogue cultivators outside to plant medicinal herbs. Brother, this is a good opportunity. If Senior still has other medicinal herbs, you can also hand them all over to me. Move aside. Get out of my way. As the two of them were talking, a commotion suddenly came from outside. Dr. Wang, your fruits are here. Where are you going? Why do you care where I go? The fruit I want is right here. Stop fooling me. Although Li Yuanqing had secretly peeked at the old man who had bought his herbs, the feeling he had when he saw him in person was still very different. The old man wasn't tall, but he gave off an imposing aura, making people feel inexplicably depressed. Even though this guy didn't look like a proper person, his cultivation was definitely at the middle stage of the supreme realm. As for what rank it was, Li Yuanqing could not be sure. However, this guy's strength was definitely the most profound one he had ever seen. The old man also sized up Li Yuanqing, as if he had already confirmed that Li Yuanqing was the seller. Kid's cultivation is not bad. He's already at the peak of the array formation realm at such a young age. His future is boundless. I wonder which sect this kid came from. The old man swung the big oily gourd and came in front of Li Yuanqing. Just as Li Yuanqing was about to take a step back, he suddenly felt as if his body had been shackled by some force. He could only stand where he was and watch the old man put his dirty arm on his shoulder. The old man's greasy hand kept rubbing Li Yuanqing's body up and down. In a very short time, he had touched Li Yuanqing's entire body. Good fellow. His skeleton was so young, and he had such a high cultivation at such a young age. What are the names of your elders? Li Yuanqing glared at the old man in annoyance and replied unhappily, Sir, what does this have to do with you? Master Wu Yin watched this scene with his mouth agape. Why didn't he think that this kid's identity would be so special? He was still recognized by the drunken Wang Lan. Fortunately, he had received such important news and almost neglected it. Wang Lan's body tilted and almost fell to the ground. A futon next to him came close at the right time and just happened to stick to his body. He lazily leaned against the futon and gulped down a large mouthful of wine. The gourd was like a small waterfall, spilling wine out. This old man spent so much money to buy the fire spirit fruit in your hand. Don't tell me I can't even know your name? Li Yuanqing looked at Master Wu Yin and said unhappily, How do you know that I sold this fruit to you? What does the deal you made with them have to do with me? The old man's slender arm casually pulled Li Yuanqing close to him. Brat, that's why the drug on your body is so strong. I've smelled it on you long ago, so why are you still trying to deny it? Whatever you say. Master Wu Yin, I still have some matters to attend to today, so I'll make a move first. If the next batch of fruits is ripe, I'll come back again. Master Wu Yin immediately took out a small formation disc and stuffed it into Li Yuanqing's hands. Little friend, take this communication device with you. If there's anything, you can tell me immediately. If there's anything inconvenient for you, you can also tell me. Thank you, Master. After Li Yuanqing received the communication device, he left the hall in a hurry. Beside them, Tit and the other two brothers were still following the two of them. They were originally waiting outside my door to see Li Yuanqing come out, but they forced Li Yuanqing into the forest before leaving with a peace of mind. Brother, thank you so much this time. If you have such a business in the future, you must inform us. We brothers can also have a share of the soup, right? They didn't even get the so-called 0.5% commission. Originally, they did not think that this business would be so big. Now that Master Wu Yan had directly asked about this matter, the two of them only received a small commission. However, this was enough for them to be happy for a long time. Backstage in the auction hall, Wang Lan still looked drunk. Her eyes were staring straight at Wu Yan. How much do you have? Master, look at this. Didn't we already say it just now? Two of them are already in your hands. How can there be more? When Master Wu Yan faced this old man, he was more or less reserved. Wang Lan didn't buy it. She stared at him coldly and said, "Don't talk to me about this useless stuff. I just want to know where that kid's fruit came from. If this fire spirit fruit can grow 2, it can grow 10. How many more are there?" Master Wu Yan grinned at Wang Lan. He knew that he couldn't hide it from this old fellow, but how could he let Wang Lan get involved in such a big deal? Manhua, Medicine Master Wang, you also know that we have always respected you very much. You are the most famous alchemist among the freelance martial artists within 1,000 miles. That's not what I want to hear. Master, I think we've already done our best for you. But this business is our Golden Mountain Pavilion's business. It has nothing to do with you, so I advise you not to get involved in this mess. Wang Lan's eyes finally widened a little. After thinking for a while, she nodded gently. I understand. After Li Yuanqing left Golden Bamboo Mountain, he did not return to the sect immediately. Instead, they took a huge detour and arrived at a very remote valley. They stopped there for a long time. He had made a big deal this time, but he did not know if he would be followed behind. If he returned to the sect with a tail, his whereabouts would be exposed in the future. In a place like the immortal world where experts were as common as clouds, he did not want to be targeted by others. But now, it seemed that the black market in Jindu Mountain had done a good job of keeping it a secret. No one had followed them, but that crazy old man looked weird and seemed to have some tricks up his sleeve. That old man Feng had a very strong smell of medicinal herbs on him. At a glance, he was a senior alchemist. However, in Li Yuanqing's impression, alchemists were mostly very wise and imposing. This old man was sloppy. He took out the 50 high-grade spirit stones and weighed them in his hand. Although he had indeed sold the fruits he had grown, there was still another problem that had not been resolved. How could he make up for the losses of the sect? After thinking about it, he finally set his target on Wang Lin. Wang Lin looked at Li Yuanqing, who was waiting outside the herb garden. Although he didn't know why this kid had come back after leaving for half a day, he still invited Li Yuanqing in on account of how generous and enthusiastic this kid was. If you ask me, you've only been here for 2 days. It's best if you don't do anything. Wang Lin originally didn't want to make a fuss because of the treasure, but this Li Yuanqing was too exaggerated. He had only been here for 2 days, and he was already thinking of taking away all the tricks he had been using for decades. This kid was too greedy. Sooner or later, he would be discovered by the sect. If he was discovered, he might even rat him out. Li Yuanqing casually took out a high-grade spirit stone and placed it on the table. Originally, Wang Lin still had a lot of complaints, but when he saw the spirit stones, he wasn't as angry anymore. However, he still felt a bit of danger. I say, brother, I really treat you like my own brother. That's why I'm telling you that these people from the sect aren't fools. You've only been here for a short while. If you want to play tricks, you'll definitely be discovered. Although he said that, his hands were not idle. He carefully put the spirit stone into his pocket. Li Yuanqing smiled in satisfaction when he saw this. His expression changed and he said with some distress, after thinking about it, I still feel that something is not right. I am not very familiar with this area. I am afraid that if I go to the black market, I will be ambushed or bumped into by my fellow disciples. So you should plant the medicine first. Li Yuanqing bitterly looked at Wang Lin and complained, Senior Brother Wang, you don't know. The rules of this sect are too strict. I accidentally broke 2 vines, but there are so many gaps. I don't dare to go to the black market. The only person I can trust is you, senior brother. My production is only this much. I don't have much. Didn't Shixiang say that he could use the materials given out by the sect to make his own herbal field? Wang Lin's face slightly twitched and he thought, not good. When he saw the treasure, he blurted out something and this kid remembered it. I just said that those things might be useful. Senior brother, since you're going to sell it in the black market, why don't you sell the fruits you planted to me? That way, we'll be happy. Wang Lin carefully looked at Li Yuanqing. How could this kid be so arrogant at such a young age? How many spirit stones did he have? Seeing that there was hope, Li Yuanqing immediately said, you see, only you and I know about this. There won't be a third person who knows. It saves a lot of trouble, right? Wang Lin narrowed his eyes and carefully said, I only have a little more. If you really have a gap, I can make up for it. I wonder what the price is for senior brother Wang to sell in the black market? The price in the black market is slightly higher than outside because the quality here is high. Most of the 100 fire spirit fruits are worth 3 to 4 high-grade spirit stones. Wang Lin thought that Li Yuanqing didn't want much, so he should at least cut him. Li Yuanqing grabbed Wang Lin's hand. TLL give you 5 spirit stones. In the future, sell all your fire spirit fruits to me. All of them? Yes, all of them. Why do you need so many? Senior brother, don't worry about this. Li Yuanqing felt a little regretful as soon as he said that. He thought about it and explained, I just came here, so I wanted to show my face in the sect. Wang Lin nodded in realization and then persuaded, little fellow, don't say that as a senior, I didn't warn you. Even if you stand out as a servant, the masters in those sects won't take a fancy to you. You should try your best to increase your cultivation. Isn't it better to use these high-grade spirit stones for cultivation? Since senior brother has already agreed, then don't say anything more. I know my limits. Wang Lin saw that no matter how he tried to persuade him, it was useless, so he let him be. Although he didn't know why this kid had so many spirit stones on hand and was even here to look after the herbal field. However, he was most satisfied with the fact that all of the silly kid's spirit stones had gone into his storage bag. In any case, this little fool was already like this. No matter where she went, she would be cheated of spirit stones. If others could cheat him of spirit stones, why couldn't he? You really want 100, I mean? As Wang Lin was talking, Li Yuanqing looked at him and said, Senior brother, I want as many as you have. I have plenty of spirit stones here. As long as you can take them out, give them all to me. You have to think carefully. This is not as simple as 1 or 2 spirit stones. Wang Lin felt that something was wrong. There was something wrong with this kid's brain. Senior brother, you don't have to worry too much. Leave all your fruits for me. I'll go prepare the spirit stones now. Li Yuanqing took out 20 spirit stones and placed them on the table. These are the deposit. It would be best if senior brother has enough. After Li Yuanqing left the deposit, he left Wang Lin in a hurry. He stared in the direction Li Yuanqing left in with his mouth agape. He turned around and arrived at a very dark passage. After walking along the passage for a while, the front suddenly opened up. A few huge pearls were embedded in the wall, connecting the mountain belly with the outside world. The light from the sun outside shone through these pearls and spread evenly across the large medicinal field below. Wang Lin had actually dug out so many fields in the mountain. He walked among the medicinal fields and looked at the fire spirit fruits that were about to ripen. If all the fire spirit fruits were to ripen, there would probably be over 1,000 of them in each herbal field. Although the fields here were not as vast as the ones outside, there were still dozens of them. This time, he had gained a lot. The price of fruits sold outside was not stable. Sometimes, if he did not have 100 yuan, he would be given 2 yuan. He had no choice. But now, Li Yuanqing was really rich and overbearing. He directly shouted out the price of 5 high-grade spirit stones, which was more than twice the stable price. No matter what situation this kid was in, to be able to earn so much in one go, it was enough. At most, he would just run away after earning the last sum. Anyway, he had a vague feeling that there were signs of his matters being exposed. Since that's the case, then there's no need to hide it. At this moment, Wang Lin had arrived at the center of the field, a circular area. He gently bent down and pressed his hand on the ground. muttering something. Slowly, the ground lit up with rays of light in the ridge. The light seemed to be suppressed by something and could not be released. The spiritual qi in these fields was far less dense than outside. However, at this moment, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes and placed 5 large spirit stones on the control formation disk. A strong force burst out instantly. Domain space. The 2 cocoons that were originally floating in the air let out a very soft sound and slowly began to crack. Li Yuanqing's figure flashed and appeared in front of the cocoon, silently watching the 2 of them. According to Zhao Baoyun, after taking the medicine, the transformation would be completed in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. However, the medicinal efficacy of his medicinal pills was obviously not enough. Fortunately, Li Yuanqing was prepared and replenished a lot of energy, allowing the 2 of them to successfully advance. The difference between the immortal world and the lower realm was that the purity of the power was much higher. In the immortal world, it was a common spiritual power, but if it entered the body of a person in the lower realm, it would become a very strong poison. It was very easy to break a person's meridians. This was also why those who ascended from the lower realm had to go through a process of purifying their strength, allowing their bodies to slowly accept a transformation. 2 graceful figures emerged from the cocoons. The outer cocoons also turned into 2 clouds of smoke that were absorbed into their bodies. Hu Juju slowly opened his eyes and looked at the familiar domain space in front of him. His consciousness gradually became clear. Master? Hu Juju looked at Li Yuanqing in a daze. It was like a dream. She felt like she had been through a long time, but she didn't know how long it had been. Li Yuanqing took out a supreme-grade spirit stone and placed it in Hu Juju's hand. An extremely pure energy flowed through Hu Juju's meridians and entered her body bit by bit. Under the warmth of this power, his meridians, which had felt a little torn just now, slowly eased up. Hu Juju slowly closed his eyes and slowly absorbed the power in the spirit stone. The power of this body tempering was really not to be underestimated. Hu Juju had been specially trained by Li Yuanqing before entering, and his cultivation was at the 5th level of the array formation realm. After consuming this pill and infusing it with Li Yuanqing's medicinal strength, his cultivation instantly rose by 2 levels, directly reaching the 7th level of the array formation realm. Xiao Budian and the spiritual child, those 2 little fellows, were each fed 2 big bowls of water by Li Yuanqing yesterday. She slept until now. Both of their bodies were hot. The 2 little fellows' bodies seemed to have become bottomless pits. The power from the outside kept pouring into their bodies. This situation lasted for a long time, and it finally calmed down a little. The 2 of them were faintly touching the threshold of the array formation realm. What was the use of this so-called divine source water? However, judging from the current situation, it seemed to have a stable effect on the growth of plants. The spirit boy's main body was a blood vine, so it was normal for him to be stimulated. It was just that Xiao Budian was a magic treasure with spiritual essence, yet he could actually benefit from it. This made Li Yuanqing puzzled. The cloud of smoke beside Lil Man was still not completely covered by the gray mountain. There was always a wisp of smoke surrounding her body, and her brows were tightly knitted. The flow of power in her body was very uneven. In the beginning, Li Yuanqing did not think too much about it. However, this power was always entangled in a certain place in her body. As time passed, Lil Man's breathing became more and more rapid. Seeing that something was wrong, Li Yuanqing took out a drop of water from the bottle and dropped it into the alchemy furnace below. Using the grass juice that was boiled from the spirit herbs to dilute it, a misty mist was released and wrapped around Xiao Man. The faint green mist slowly seeped into her body through her pores. An extremely tyrannical power gathered in her body. That power was extremely overbearing. After entering Xiao Man's meridians, it followed a specific path and unwaveringly clashed forward, directly breaking through the stagnant meridians in Xiao Man's body. Xiao Man's originally tightly knitted brows gradually relaxed, and her cultivation also began to slowly rise. In the past, Xiao Man was only at the 8th level of the spiritual transformation stage. Later on, Li Yuanqing used some tricks to help Xiao Man reach the array formation stage. This was not the end. He even forcefully raised Xiao Man's cultivation by 3 bottles, forcing her to fall to the third level of the array formation realm. This also caused Xiaoman's cultivation base to be extremely unheard of. Even with Li Yuanqing's multiple defenses, Lil Man almost didn't make it. Fortunately, she was saved by the divine source water. After a long time, Lil Man finally opened her eyes. Although she was still very weak, her complexion was much better than when she first came out. Master, I feel like I died just now. I feel like the meridians in my body were about to be torn apart. Then, something suddenly entered my body and saved me. Li Yuanqing clicked his tongue in wonder as he looked at the huge bottle in his hand. It was filled with such pure divine source water. The medicinal effects were so great. How many spirit stones would he earn from these 100 bottles of divine source water? How do you feel now? I feel that although the strength in my body is still a little weak, it has improved a lot compared to before. Master, what did you do just now? Lil Man looked at the bottle in Li Yuanqing's hand and felt a little wronged and afraid, but she couldn't help but lick her lips. This divine source water seems to be very helpful to plant-type demonic beasts. Do you think your body has changed after consuming it? Lil Man thought about it in a daze. She stretched out an arm and suddenly transformed into a thick vine. This vine was very strong. In a short while, the thickest part had already expanded to 30 feet thick. I feel like my body has become much stronger than before. Moreover, the speed at which he absorbed energy was much faster than before. It was as if all the spiritual apertures in his body had been opened. Li Yuanqing saw that the effect of this drop of water was actually so good. He took out another drop and mixed it with a bowl of herbal juice for Lil Man to consume. After Lil Man drank the potion, she gently wiped the juice from the corner of her mouth and slowly closed her eyes. A red flush rushed up in a moment, first on Xiaoman's cheeks, then the red gradually spread, dyeing her entire body red. In a short while, Xiaoman's entire body had turned red, and her eyes were becoming more and more blurred. She was in a daze, and her body seemed to be unable to sit still. Master, people. Lil Man's voice grew weaker and weaker. In the end, she simply could not hold on any longer. Her eyelids closed as she lay on the ground and fell asleep just like that. This situation was exactly the same as the two little fellows from yesterday. Li Yuanqing had thought that since they could absorb it so smoothly, he would give them more medicinal effects. In the end, he did not expect it to be counterproductive. Even Lil Man could not withstand such a powerful medicinal effect. But at least he knew that Lil Man would have a very good effect after consuming the divine source water. That was enough. At this moment, a signal suddenly came from outside. Li Yuanqing's figure flashed and appeared in the medicinal field. At the entrance of the valley, Zhao Baoyun appeared with a ragged old man. Martial Uncle Wang, aren't you joking? This fire spirit fruit can only grow so big. Our sect has already tried our best to nurture it. So many pharmacists have worked hard for so many years, but we have never heard of anyone who can grow the fire spirit fruit to the size of a person. Zhao Baoyun looked at this old man with a bitter face. Although he had made some very unreasonable requests, he could not do anything about it. This old man had a deep relationship with the sect. The old man turned around and glared at Zhao Baoyun. Would I lie to you? Zhao Baoyun waved his hand and said, Uncle Master Wang, I didn't mean it that way. What I mean is it possible that it's some other medicinal herb that's faking it? The fire spirit fruit can only grow so big. It's absolutely impossible for it to be that big. Li Yuanqing's expression froze when he saw the old man. This old fellow was none other than the alchemist Wang Lan who had bought his 2 giant fire spirit fruits at the auction yesterday. This Wang Lan was a person that everyone in the black market respected. How did she come here? Could it be that this old fellow had already discovered his identity, or had followed his scent and come over? Li Yuanqing didn't know, but looking at the two of them, perhaps things weren't as bad as he thought. Senior brother Zhao. Li Yuanqing pretended to be relaxed and walked in front of Zhao Baoyun and the others, greeting them. Zhao Baoyun waved his hands repeatedly and called Li Yuanqing over. Martial Uncle Wang, look, he's new here. He's the lookout for this herb garden. If you want to do something, just instruct him. When Wang Lan saw Li Yuanqing, his eyes widened. He stared at Li Yuanqing from head to toe several times. Li Yuanqing cursed in his heart but he didn't show it on his face. Zhao Baoyan looked at Wang Lan strangely and asked, "Martial uncle, have you seen Junior Brotherly before?" The old man paused for a moment before he returned to his usual carefree appearance. He picked up the big gourd and gulped down a mouthful. "How would I know your disciples?" Zhao Baoyun scratched his head awkwardly. "That's right. If you have anything to say, just tell me. Although Junior Brother has just arrived, he is still very serious. If you have anything to say, just greet him." "I still have something to say." Wang Lan waved her hand indifferently and said to him, "If you want to get lost, then get lost. Don't dawdle with me." "Martial uncle, what are you talking about?" Zhao Baoyun said somewhat awkwardly. "I am indeed in the sect and have some important matters to attend to. I really can't accompany Uncle Master to investigate the matter of the fire spirit fruit." "All right, I don't mean to blame you. If you have to leave, then leave. I want to stay here for the next few days." Li Yuanqing's expression stiffened. He wanted to speak up and stop her, but he clearly had no right to do so. "Martial uncle, look at what you're saying. You're an old friend of the sect. It's fine for you to stay here for as long as you want. I'll go back and inform Master that no one will disturb you in the future." Li Yuanqing's eyes twitched slightly. Why didn't this old man plan to leave? From what he said, could it be that he still had to stay here for 10 days to half a month? "It won't be that long. I'm not someone who doesn't do anything all day. 3 to 5 days is enough." "All right, then it's settled." After Zhao Baoyan finished speaking, he carefully pulled Li Yuanqing to the side and instructed, "Junior Brother, this old senior is a distinguished guest of the sect. You should greet him well. No matter what request he has, you should try your best to satisfy him, understand?" "Is this old gentleman an elder in the sect?" Li Yuanqing asked curiously. It's not that Martial Uncle Wang is an itinerant cultivator. Because he had some interactions with the sect before, he often walked around the sect. Most importantly, Martial Uncle Wang was also an alchemist of the Alchemy Pavilion, so he had to be respectful and not be neglected. Alchemy Pavilion? Zhao Baoyan looked at Li Yuanqing's confused expression and knew that Li Yuanqing might not have heard of the Alchemy Pavilion. Then, he thought about how this kid had been in the lower realm, so it made sense. "Isn't your master an alchemist? Did Master never mention anything about the Alchemy Pavilion to you?" "Senior Brother, I haven't been with Master for long, so there are many things that Master hasn't told me." "Forget it. It's better for you to know less about these things now. It has nothing to do with you. You just need to serve this old senior well. Then, everything can be discussed." When Li Yuanqing heard this, his eyes instantly lit up. With fewer offerings, wouldn't he have more room for maneuver? Zhao Baoyan left in a hurry after giving a few simple instructions. Although he said that he respected Wang Lan, it was hard to tell that he really liked this sloppy old man. Li Yuanqing looked at the old man who was squatting in the field and staring blankly at the fire spirit fruit. For a moment, he did not know what to do. He didn't know if this old man had discovered his secret. When this old man came in just now, his expression was clearly not right. Just as Li Yuanqing was thinking about it, Wang Lan suddenly stretched out a hand and waved at him without looking back. Although Li Yuanqing had a grudge in his heart, he still obediently walked over and stood behind Wang Lan. The place where the old man was squatting was none other than the place where Li Yuanqing had moved the fire spirit fruit. The fire spirit fruits were already growing very fast and would soon fill up the empty space. However, this place was still caught by Wang Lan. "Senior, do you have any instructions?" Li Yuanqing carefully watched Wang Lan's back. Wang Lan pointed at the empty space and asked, "Little fellow, do you know how this place was vacated?" Li Yuanqing coughed lightly and replied, "Senior, this is because I failed to do my job and accidentally poured too much spirit liquid into it, causing the fire spirit fruit to drown. Senior has already punished me." "Too much spirit liquid?" The old man stroked his chin and pondered. At this moment, his serious expression made him look like a normal person. "Did you become like this after pouring too much spirit liquid into it?" The old man was talking to himself, making Li Yuanqing very nervous. "Senior, could there be any other reason?" In fact, this junior had just arrived, so he wasn't familiar with the operation and didn't know anything. "Do you think it's possible that the last person who left damaged this place and I happened to run into such an unlucky thing?" Li Yuanqing stuck his head out beside Wang Lan and looked at the empty space. Wang Lan turned to look at Li Yuanqing and suddenly smiled. It's not impossible. I wonder where the vines that you cleared out are now. Can you let me take a look? Senior, I was furious when I saw those rotten fire spirit fruits, so I took them all to refine the spirit liquid. Li Yuanqing said embarrassedly. The old man seemed to have expected this. He maintained a smile on his face and turned his body to face Li Yuanqing. Coming out like this, we don't have any clues now. If Senior wants it, I'll bring those pieces of trash back later and let Senior take a look. Forget it, forget it. As Wang Lan spoke, she sat down on the ridge, took out her big gourd, and took a big gulp. Li Yuanqing looked at him carefully and asked tentatively, Senior, could it be that you're here to investigate the matter of this junior planting the fire spirit fruit? Wang Lan burped, and a strong smell of alcohol instantly spread. He chuckled as he looked at the herbal field in front of him and smacked his lips. I don't care about the matters in your sect. I came here mainly because I recently discovered a new thing and wanted to grow some myself. May I know what Senior is talking about? You want to know? Junior is just a little curious. If Senior is inconvenient, then forget it. It's not inconvenient. It just cost me 50 spirit stones. As Wang Lan spoke, he gently shook the wine pot in his hand. A fire spirit fruit that was half the height of a person immediately appeared beside him. The fire spirit fruit and the sealing array formation were carefully sealed. The spiritual energy was also sealed inside the fruit. Li Yuanqing pretended to be shocked as he looked at the new toy in front of him. Senior, what is this? Why is it so huge? Wang Lan seemed to like Li Yuanqing very much. He did not mind any of Li Yuanqing's questions and replied very kindly, Actually, this old man has never seen such a huge fire spirit fruit in my life. This time, he had the chance to obtain this treasure. It could be considered a gift from the heavens. However, this fruit was still incomplete and could not produce seeds. Therefore, he could only think of other methods. His words immediately attracted Li Yuanqing's attention. Li Yuanqing almost subconsciously asked, What does Senior mean by incomplete? Wang Lan narrowed her eyes and stared at Li Yuanqing's face as if she was interrogating a criminal. Li Yuanqing grinned and asked in confusion, Senior, why are you looking at me like that? Wang Lan smiled and replied, It's nothing. It's just that there aren't many young people like you who are so eager to learn recently. Is that so? Junior was just casually asking. If Senior is not suitable, then take it that Junior did not say anything. There's nothing inappropriate about it. Wang Lan extended the wine gourd and stuck the mouth of the gourd to the middle of the fire spirit fruit. Actually, most of the medicinal herbs cultivated by large sects use methods to ensure that they are not easily leaked. The fire spirit fruit of the Wuyuan sect could not grow ripe seeds on its own. I see. Li Yuanqing heaved a sigh of relief. He had thought that something was wrong with the divine source water. Wang Lan smiled mysteriously and continued, However, although these large sects have their own methods, these methods are nothing in the eyes of this old man. Then why did Senior come here? Wang Lan picked up the gourd and poured it into her mouth. Although I don't know what method he used to grow this giant spiritual fruit to such a huge size, I don't know how he did it. However, this method of ripening also had some hidden dangers, which was that it would magnify its shortcomings and make its strength unstable. What? The old man's words were strange. Even Li Yuanqing himself did not know about these things. Why did he seem to have studied this fruit so deeply? Wang Lan ignored Li Yuanqing's expression and continued. If this flaw is in the hands of others, it will probably become a hidden danger. If you are not careful, you can easily hurt yourself. However, to this old man, it doesn't matter. It was just that such an extreme growth and shelf life was very abnormal. So no matter what method was used, it was impossible to produce offspring. Then I wonder if Senior has any way to break it? This is easy to say. As far as I know, in the Spirit Grass Mountain Range, because of Master Myriad Mushroom, he had countless mushrooms in his hands. Many of the mushrooms could coexist with other plants. Among them, there were also some talented people. If they could find a matching mushroom and combine it with the plant after it was born, they would be able to grow a mushroom. On one hand, The plants that are produced have sufficient strength to nourish these symbiotic mushrooms. On the other hand, the demons could produce scarce nutrients and supply them back. The two of them supported each other and grew up together. They were a match made in heaven. Li Yuanqing listened to the old man's description and was entranced. He silently memorized these keywords: Spirit Grass Mountain Range, Master Myriad Mushroom. Wang Lan turned to Li Yuanqing and asked with a smile, "Little fellow, you seem to be very interested in these things. Is that so, senior?" "I'm naturally interested in everything. Sometimes this is a good habit, but sometimes it can easily harm yourself. Many thanks for senior's teachings. Junior will definitely pay more attention in the future. I wonder if senior has any other instructions. If not, Junior will have to water these herbs today." Wang Lan leaned against the ridge of the field. Her cheeks were red as she looked at Li Yuanqing. She burped and replied, "You can go do what you need to do. I'll stay here and study for a while. If I need your help, I'll call you. Then this junior will take his leave first." Wait a moment. Li Yuanqing had just walked to the corner when he was called down again. "Is there anything else senior needs? Don't water too much this time. Junior will definitely remember this." Li Yuanqing hurriedly walked away. Wang Lan was still shouting at him from afar. "I think the small house next to yours is not bad. Help me clean it up." Li Yuanqing looked gloomily at the deserted hut beside him. This old man really planned to stay here. Could it be that this person had discovered something? He had said so much in detail just now. Could it be that he was just casually saying it? However, this old fellow's knowledge of pharmacology was very sufficient. Li Yuanqing himself had been unable to figure out these things for a long time. He didn't expect that there were so many theories between plants. It seemed that he really needed to make a trip to this so-called spiritual herb mountain range. Otherwise, if he really left behind any hidden dangers, the losses would be too great. Of course, the fire spirit fruit didn't matter, but Xiao Man and the others couldn't be affected. Watering these thousands of medicinal fields at once was also a laborious matter. Fortunately, after watering the fields this time, the next watering would have to wait 10 days. Watering 3 times a month was enough to hasten the growth of a batch of mature medicinal herbs. Many of the medicinal herbs here were very old roots. Their roots actually extended straight into the ground for thousands of feet. The herbal fields were all built on the sect's spirit veins, which also ensured an adequate supply of spirit power. These medicinal herbs were directly produced by lying on the spirit vein and absorbing spirit energy. No wonder they could grow so quickly. In the herb garden under Li Yuanqing's jurisdiction, there were a total of 10 types of medicinal herbs planted. Among them, the ones with the largest production were the fire spirit fruit and the stone worm grass. The stone worm grass was gray and looked like a small stone stick. It matured very quickly. Although this little guy looked ordinary, it was the foundation of many medicinal pills. Normally, the strength of medicinal herbs was too fierce, and it might be very irritating to the human body. However, this stone wormgrass played a good role in neutralizing the effect. It could protect the human body very well and slowly release the medicinal effect. In addition, there were a few expensive medicinal herbs. Although the amount of these medicinal herbs used was not large, it was very difficult to cultivate, so it was also very laborious. The most typical example was the purple dragon root. It was said that 1,000-year-old purple dragon root had the effect of reviving people and bones even if it was not refined into a pill. However, it was difficult to say whether this medicinal effect was true or false. Li Yuanqing took a casual glance and saw Wang Lan walking into the herbal field. He directly dug out 2 purple dragon roots from the fat tree with his bare hands and stuffed them into Wang Lan's broken gourd. These 2 purple dragon roots were so fat that they must be the offerings that Li Yuanqing had to report to him next month. He did not expect that they would be casually pulled out by this old man to soak in wine. Li Yuanqing couldn't help but feel his heart ache. Before he could finish sighing, the old man's hands were not idle at all. He ran to another piece and pulled out 2 white jade potatoes. Sitting on the ridge, he set up a fire and started roasting. The roasted white jade potato tasted very fragrant and rich. A dense spiritual energy spread out in all directions. Just this intense taste was very fascinating. He was not done yet. He plucked the fruit that was about to ripen and stuffed it into his mouth. His hands could not stop at all. It was as if he had been hungry for 100 years. Li Yuanqing watched his actions from the side and could not help but feel his heart ache. If he were to continue to waste a piece of land like this, it would probably be completely destroyed in less than 2 days. If he were to stay here for 10 days to half a month, he was afraid that he would not be able to hand in the tribute next month. However, it was hard to say that it was a bad thing. If he could deceive them and lie about the number, would he be able to grow more fire spirit fruits? Just as Li Yuanqing was thinking about it, the old man suddenly remembered him. She waved at him and summoned him over. "Little guy, come here quickly. I still have some important things to do. I wonder if Senior has any other instructions? Sit here and chat with me." "Old man, I've told you so much just now, but I still don't know where you're from." Li Yuanqing smiled and replied, "I don't have much to say. Master is an alchemist. Later on, when he was in the lower realm, he rode a crane to become an immortal. Lu Wan was alone in the lower realm for many years. Finally, she found a door to ascend to immortality. With such a way, she secretly came up." "I see. In that case, you must know a lot of herbs from the lower realm?" "I do know a thing or two." "Then do you know that there is a kind of wood called divine dragon fragrance in the lower realm? It grows extremely slowly. After it matures, it will give off an extremely rich and strange fragrance when burned." "I've heard of it. Then do you have some?" "I haven't seen this kind of divine dragon incense for many years, and I still miss that smell." Li Yuanqing replied apologetically, "Senior, Junior, although I've heard of the name of the divine dragon incense, I haven't had the opportunity to see it." "That's a pity." Wang Lan shook her head regretfully. Li Yuanqing didn't say anything. In his domain space, there was a divine dragon incense core that was more than 3 meters in diameter. The fragrance of the essence of the divine dragon incense was 10 times stronger than that of the ordinary divine dragon incense. I still remember that it has been many years since I met a good friend. It was also from her that I learned that there was such a novel thing in the lower realm. Ever since she left, I haven't seen this divine dragon incense. Looking at Wang Lan's reminiscing gaze, Li Yuanqing's heart also started to sigh. "That's really a pity. It's just that this divine dragon incense can only be encountered by chance and not sought after. There aren't many in the world to begin with." "That's right. Isn't everything in this world something that can be encountered but not sought after? When you meet a noble person who can change your life, you should firmly grasp this opportunity." Wang Lan's words seemed to be a continuation of the previous topic, but she also looked at Li Yuanqing as if she was hinting something. Li Yuanqing picked up the white jade potato that was being roasted over the fire and tore it in half. A rich fragrance instantly assaulted his nose. "Senior, your white jade potato is already cooked." Wang Lan took the fragrant white jade potato and said with some emotion, "If this white jade potato can grow to 10 times its original size, what kind of flavor would it have?" "Senior must be joking. How can this thing grow again? I didn't believe it before, but now I'm starting to believe it. Or rather, I believe it very much now." When Wang Lan said this, she stared at Li Yuanqing with a burning gaze. No matter how calm Li Yuanqing was, he could not help but swallow his saliva. "Senior really likes to joke? I learned this from my friend in the lower realm. I thought you people in the lower realm like this." This Wang Lan really stayed in Li Yuanqing's herb garden just like that. Every day, the old man would squat in the herbal field and study something. When he was tired, he would lean on the ridge of the field, holding that greasy gourd and pouring wine into his stomach. The old man didn't seem to have any thoughts about Li Yuanqing. The two sides lived in peace. Li Yuanqing took care of his medicinal herbs as usual every day, while Wang Lan was busy with her own matters every day. What troubled Li Yuanqing was that not only was Wang Lan a spendthrift when he ate those medicinal herbs and spiritual fruits, but he also always destroyed a lot of those things. In just a short while, Li Yuanqing heard another muffled sound. When he looked over, he happened to see a thick smoke rising from the herbal field. The thick smoke was gradually blown away by a gust of wind. A pile of flames had been ignited just now, but now it had been suppressed. This wasn't the first time. Wang Lan had been doing some strange things. Every time, it seemed that she had used too much medicine, resulting in an explosion in a small area, destroying a few of Li Yuanqing's herbal fields. Although Zhao Baoyun had previously instructed that the sect should bear the losses caused by Wang Lan's destruction. However, Li Yuanqing was still somewhat worried about the speed at which he was being destroyed. Outside the valley, a visitor arrived. Wang Lin mysteriously stood at the entrance of the valley as he waited. He kept checking his surroundings as if he was afraid that someone was watching him. After seeing Li Yuanqing come out, Wang Lin wanted to rush into the valley, but Li Yuanqing stopped him. "Senior brother, you can't go in." Wang Lin looked at Li Yuanqing with displeasure. "What's wrong? Are you going back on your word?" "Of course I won't go back on my word. It's just that it's not convenient for me to stay in the valley now. What special guest is it that makes you so careful? I wonder if senior brother has heard of Wang Lan's reputation? Lunatic Wang?" When he heard this name, Wang Lin's expression changed and the suspicion disappeared. Li Yuanqing pretended to be helpless and replied, "Don't know either. This old senior said that he encountered a strange thing, so he wanted to squat here for a few days to study it thoroughly. But I haven't found anything yet." "Strange things?" As Wang Lin spoke, he rubbed his chin. "Speaking of which, when I went to the black market yesterday, I heard some news. It seems that a very strange thing has appeared on the market recently. I wonder who made a giant fire spirit fruit. I really don't know how it was grown." "Is that so? What is this giant fire spirit fruit?" Li Yuanqing pretended to be curious. Wang Lin waved his hand and said, "It's useless for you to know about this, but it seems to have something to do with Madman Wang. I didn't expect that crazy old man to come to you. Could it be that he still hopes that he has the ability to grow this huge fire spirit fruit?" Li Yuanqing looked at Wang Lin and let out a sigh of relief. He wanted to see if his disguise was on point. I saw that this old senior was muttering something about the fire spirit fruit. Moreover, he squatted in the field of the fire spirit fruit every day. Wang Lin pondered for a bit, then he shook his head and said, "This old fellow is already so old. Whether it's his cultivation or his pill concoction skills, it's difficult for him to improve. Now, he wants to rely on some crooked ways to advance. I don't think his method will work." Although Wang Lin said it very loudly, he couldn't help but look behind Li Yuanqing. He was afraid that someone would hear his words. Li Yuanqing jumped up and reminded him, "I wonder why senior brother is here this time. Is it because you have already come to a conclusion on the matter that we discussed?" Wang Lin looked behind him again. Then he quickly took out a bag of holding and put it in Li Yuanqing's hand. "Brother, I have 1,000 ripe fire spirit fruits here. I wonder if you have the appetite to eat them." "1,000?" Li Yuanqing put on a surprised expression, but he was actually a little disappointed. He thought that he would be able to get more. "Shixiang actually has so much stock, then I think I should have enough. In addition, Medicine Master Wang has destroyed a lot of fire spirit fruit fields in the past few days. I'm afraid that the gap here is bigger than I imagined. It would be best if senior brother could have more." Wang Lin's eyes widened. He looked at Li Yuanqing with some doubt and said, "However, most sects won't be too calculative about the things that Madman Wang caused. Could it be that Zhao Baoyun said that you would pay for all the compensation?" "Senior Zhao didn't say anything, but I'm a little worried." "What's there to worry about? Madman Wang's sect takes good care of him. The sect will collect his poop for him. You don't have to worry about this." After Wang Lin finished speaking, he reached out a hand and waited. Li Yuanqing took out another storage bag and stuffed it into his hand. "Senior brother, there are 45 spirit stones in here. With the deposit I paid in advance, this should be enough." Wang Lin had given Li Yuanqing some instructions in advance. With such a big deal and such a generous price, he didn't mind taking the first few gifts. He was overjoyed that he had bought the 50 spirit stones. If junior brother has any problems in the future, feel free to look for senior brother. As long as Shixiang could do it, he would definitely not refuse. Then Shixiang will take his leave today. After Wang Lin sold the 1,000 fire spirit fruits, he still had to think of a way to sell all of his extra fire spirit fruits. Since he had already used the formation, he didn't want to pretend anymore, so he might as well buy them all. He was about to leave when Li Yuanqing stopped him again. "Senior brother, do you have more?" Wang Lin's expression suddenly froze, and he looked at Li Yuanqing with confusion. "Junior brother, you must support the distribution of precious medicinal herbs, but you must not underestimate their effects. These 1,000 pills are enough for you to use for a long time. Thank you, senior brother, for your advice. I naturally know the secrets of it. It's just that since senior brother has more in his hands, I have more needs. Why don't you sell them all to me? Isn't it beautiful? But where did you get so many spirit stones? Don't worry about this, senior brother. Li Yuanqing confidently patted his chest and promised, my master left behind a large amount of property before he passed away. Senior brother, do you know that my master is an alchemist? So I still have plenty on hand. Wang Lin's eyes suddenly lit up as he looked at Li Yuanqing. Then what does junior brother mean? If senior brother has other medicinal ingredients, this little brother is also interested in collecting some. I do have some here, but it's about the spirit stones. Senior brother, don't worry. I'll go get some spirit stones and send them to senior brother's residence. Well said, well said. I'm originally a fellow disciple of the same sect. This fertile water should not flow into the fields of outsiders. Of course, I have to keep this good thing for you. Although Wang Lin had been in the black market for so many years and knew that it was very dangerous to sell these goods to the same person, Li Yuanqing was just too fat. This little fellow looked young, but he was rich and generous. He was really a fat sheep that people could not help but slash at. Thank you, senior brother. It's fine, it's fine. You and I are fellow disciples of the same sect, so it's only right for us to help each other. Also, although Madman Wang is crazy, he still has some strength. The medicinal herbs he destroyed are nothing in the eyes of the sect. You don't have to take it to heart. I understand. After sending Wang Lin off, Li Yuanqing was puzzled to find that Wang Lan, who had been in the medicine field all day, had suddenly disappeared. He hurriedly went to search and found Wang Lan in a cave abode on the hillside. Originally, there was no cave abode that had popped out like this. It was just that the old man had dug a hole here and piled a large pile of soil and stones outside, destroying a large part of the herbal field. Li Yuanqing looked at the deep pit that had appeared out of nowhere and walked in. In the deepest part of the cave, the area was much wider than the passage outside. Wang Lan had dug out a particularly spacious area and set up a silver alchemy furnace here. The pill furnace was located in the center of the array. The 3 legs of the pill furnace were standing on the 3 fulcrums of the array below. Although this old man's clothes and body were usually very sloppy, his alchemy furnace was abnormally clean and bright. The silver alchemy furnace was even more unstained. Under the glow of the night pearls hanging on the 4 corners, the alchemy furnace appeared even brighter. At this moment, a raging fire was burning below the furnace. This fire was not produced by the burning of dry wood, but by the fire-gathering array below. The outer area of the array was very flat, but the inner layer was dented downwards. There were also many small rings that tightened inwards. Each ring was a flame spout, and fierce flames spewed out from the lines of the ring. Furthermore, the colors of the flames shot out by different sources were also very different. The outermost flame was very light in color. It was a bright yellow color. A wall was erected outside, surrounding the entire alchemy furnace. As he went deeper, the color gradually deepened, and the deepest part was a bluish-purple color. Li Yuanqing stood carefully at the side. Wang Lan was sitting right in front of the alchemy furnace with his back facing Li Yuanqing. The wine gourd that he always carried with him was also placed at the side, leaning against the wall. At this moment, Wang Lan's withered palm suddenly stretched forward, as if an invisible hand was pressing on the alchemy furnace. A vast expanse of white vapor gushed out from the side. The temperature on the side that had almost changed color had dropped slightly, and the color had become calmer. When the temperature of the furnace was not high enough, Wang Lan would activate the array under her feet. The tongues of fire would spit out even more violently, increasing the temperature of the alchemy furnace to a suitable position. A huge amount of water vapor filled the entire cave, slowly blurring everything. Fortunately, Li Yuanqing was strong enough to withstand the scorching heat. It was unknown what kind of flames were spewing out from the array under the old man's feet. The temperature was much higher than the flames used by Li Yuanqing to refine pills. With the support of this powerful flame, the process on Wang Lan's face was relatively smooth. Not long after, the flames below gradually subsided. The silver pill furnace also gradually quieted down, no longer spewing out water vapor. Wang Lan sat cross-legged in front of the alchemy furnace quietly, recovering her vitality. The consumption of one's spiritual sense was very huge. Although it might look very calm on the surface, in fact, it was surging with wind and clouds. Li Yuanqing didn't disturb him and sat quietly at the side, waiting for a rich medicinal fragrance to gradually spread out from the alchemy furnace. The fragrance gradually filled the entire cave and spread out. Not long after, Wang Lan slowly let out a sigh of relief. He waved his hand, and the lid of the alchemy furnace flew up into the sky with a clang. It fell on the top and did not move. More than a dozen pills flew out of the alchemy furnace in a row, like pure white jade. Those round, flawless, white pills were still steaming hot. The medicinal fragrance was constantly emitting outwards. Just a whiff of that smell was enough to clear one's meridians. Li Yuanqing looked at Wang Lan in surprise. He didn't expect that this old man, who usually looked like he didn't do anything serious, would turn into a different person when he touched the alchemy furnace. The purity of the pills he refined was far from what Li Yuanqing could compare to. As expected of an experienced alchemist, the little origin pill is made from 49 ingredients. It contains abundant spiritual energy. One pill can recover 10% of a peak array realm cultivator's strength. Wang Lan took out the bottle that he had prepared long ago. The dozen or so pills lined up and fell into his bottle. Finally, she left one behind. Wang Lan gently held it between her fingertips, just right where Li Yuanqing could see it clearly. The price of these minor origin pills varies according to their quality. The worst of them could only be sold for 1 spirit stone. However, the purest quality could be sold for 10 spirit stones. Li Yuanqing felt that Wang Lan's words were specifically meant for him to hear, but he did not understand why this old man would do this. Li Yuanqing gently clapped his hands and complimented. Senior's skills are superb. This junior has really broadened his horizons. When Wang Lan heard this, she shook her head and turned around. Her old eyes sparkled as she stared at Li Yuanqing. No matter how skilled I am in alchemy, I can only refine this kind of pill with these medicinal ingredients. Senior, why did you say this? Senior's skills were extraordinary, and it was difficult for ordinary people to reach. Although I am old, I still have a competitive heart. I wonder if young friend can help me? If I were to sell this bottle of Little Yuan pills at the black market's auction house, I would be able to sell it for at least 100 spirit stones. Wang Lan stood up and walked to Li Yuanqing with the bottle. She slowly placed the bottle in front of Li Yuanqing. If little friend trusts this old man and can tell this old man some information about the gigantic spiritual fruit, this bottle of small yuan pills is yours. Li Yuanqing sat upright and didn't look at the bottle of pills. Instead, he looked at Wang Lan quietly. Senior, what do you mean? Little friend, are you still trying to deceive me? But this old man's nose is famous for being sensitive. The smell on your body is too strong. Then how can Senior be sure that I have something that Senior wants? If I take this bottle of pills and leave, where will Senior find me? Wang Lan suddenly burst out laughing. Her laughter was somewhat arrogant. Little friend, where do you think you can escape to? Maybe it's a place that the seniors can't find. Wang Lan nodded gently and looked at the pill bottle in her hand. Perhaps you can indeed escape to a place where I can't find you, but not for this bottle of medicinal pills. I wonder how much Senior wants to know about the clues to the gigantic spiritual fruit? Since these words had come to this, Li Yuanqing did not avoid them at all. He directly took the small bottle and played with it in his hand. He even poured out a medicinal pill and directly swallowed it. This action stunned Wang Lan. This pill was worth at least 6 or 7 spirit stones. This kid ate it so casually. He was indeed generous. Wang Lan thought to herself, thinking that she had not misjudged him. This kid indeed had an extraordinary background. Li Yuanqing swallowed a small origin pill and instantly felt a rich heat spread in his stomach. That intense energy surged into his limbs, filling his entire body with that powerful strength. The pill said that it could recover 10% of one's strength. It didn't need to be fast, and the power was instantly transmitted to each limb. If one consumed one during a battle, it would also have some effect of increasing one's strength. Wang Lan's old eyes narrowed slightly as a smile appeared on her face. It seems that little friend has eaten quite a lot of medicinal pills. To have such a cultivation at such a young age, I'm afraid that with your identity, it's really a pity for you to be a small errand boy here to look after the medicinal fields. Li Yuanqing slowly stood up. He had already put away the small bottle. He looked straight into Wang Lan's eyes and said, "Senior, if you want to know the whereabouts of the gigantic spiritual fruit, I can tell you." "Good. In the future, I'll give you an extra spirit stone for every fruit." Li Yuanqing raised his hand to stop him. This junior isn't very interested in spirit stones, but there is one thing that senior can help with. Wang Lan looked at Li Yuanqing with interest. This kid was getting more and more interesting. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Actually, it's very simple." Li Yuanqing raised his head and looked at the huge alchemy furnace behind Wang Lan. Wang Lan also took a look and teased, "Little friend, don't tell me you want my silver dragon elixir furnace? Then I might as well tell you that even if you take my life, I won't frown. Just by reading this silver dragon elixir furnace, no one could have any ideas." Li Yuanqing smiled at Wang Lan and said, "Senior, I'm afraid you've misunderstood me. Senior's pill furnace is indeed a supreme treasure. Junior naturally won't have any ideas about it. This junior really wants to become a true pill concocting master, so I hope that senior can help me think of a way." "Alchemist?" Wang Lan's eyes revealed a hint of mockery. "You probably don't want to rely on your errand job to raise an alchemist, right? There's no need for senior to worry about this. However, junior's master was once an alchemist, but master left early and did not bring junior onto the right path. Now that there was such an opportunity, he naturally wanted to seize it." "I see." Wang Lan nodded lightly and looked at Li Yuanqing. "Your aptitude is indeed not bad, and your strength is sufficient. Moreover, you're not old. Now is the best time to learn alchemy. However, since the person behind you can plant the giant spiritual fruit, why don't you ask him instead of me? This is Junior's private matter. Senior doesn't need to know. Senior only needs to tell me if you have this method." Wang Lan thought for a moment and looked at Li Yuanqing. "Do have a way. If you want to be an alchemist, of course, you have to go to the pill house to pass the examination before you can obtain the title. I can introduce you to the pill house, but I can't help you with the assessment." "That's enough. What about the gigantic spiritual fruit?" "Senior can go back first and wait for a while. 3 days later, at the black market, someone will bring the giant spirit fruit to trade with you." "How many?" "It will be a number that will satisfy senior." "Good." With Li Yuanqing's promise, Wang Lan did not waste her time in the herbal field. He had been busy here for 2 days and found that no matter how he fumbled around, he could not figure it out. This giant spiritual fruit was a problem that he could not solve.